and who do I got with me here?
It's Devin here, aka Paranoid Coder. What's up, man?
Oh, I'm not a whole lot. Just doing this stream, doing this this live podcast. How about yourself?
Yeah, you too, man.
Yeah. It's funny that we do this like at the same time.
Yeah. It's cool. I like it.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, it's such a coincidence all the time.
Yeah. So, what are we going to be talking about today, man?
We're going to be talking about, if the title is not misleading, we're going to talk about some real cool stuff that's been happening in the PS4 homebrew scene. Not so much exploit related, more so I want to highlight some of the games, like the homebrew we've been seeing, the true homebrew. Going to be checking out, a new flashcart of sorts and some cool stuff for the Switch. It's like, have we gone 1 month without doing Switch stuff?
No, I don't think so.
Since we started.
Yeah, since I've been on the show, I do not think so.
Okay, that's what I thought. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Definitely our own running meme for a while, and it kind of got burnt out just because it never ended. It's like, is a meme really a thing if it just becomes norm?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
I don't mind it though. Switch has been an amazing console. It's been super fun to follow it.
It has been great. Look at this thing, right? Well, there we go. But look at this right here. We got the DVD logo on deck as per usual. So
yeah. But before we get into that, should we talk about what's kind of been going on the last month?
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is something that we introduced a few episodes ago, in case you've been missing this. But Dev and I will talk about some of the stuff we've been up to the last month in terms of modding, whether it be anything or a whole lot of stuff or nothing. So, Devin, you want to go or should I go?
I think you should start.
Okay. So I actually haven't done all too much outside of the Vita. I end up sinking my teeth into the Vita again because, I guess, spoiler alert, I want to do a future video on this, but I got my girlfriend her first game system.
Yeah, I heard about that. I was kind of following it a little bit. You mentioned it to me, I think.
I mentioned it to you. I put it up on Twitter, so people who fuck with me on Twitter, Mr. Mario 2011 on Twitter, if you want to check it out, follow, show some love, all that good stuff. I'm pretty talkative on there. But yeah, I had said that my girlfriend, we've been dating for several years, she's not a gamer. She respects the games, she likes that I'm a gamer, all that, but she just hasn't been a gamer. And when we were thinking of, she was kind of asking me about a few systems, and you know me, I've got a whole bunch of stuff on hand. Mm-hmm. So I honestly thought her first system was going to be an Xbox 360 I'd give to her. But no, that wasn't the case. Even I offered several times, but it ended up being a Vita for several different reasons. So I ended up my own Vita, because funny enough, the exploit is still unpatched, but just in case it was getting patched, I decided to buy her a Vita. But then I said, well, this is kind of time sensitive, so maybe by the time I get this in the mail, the 3.70 trendy exploit's going to be patched. So I did end up modding it later, but I ended up taking my guinea pig Vita and just repurposed it for her, got a 128 gigabyte micro SD card installed, gave her a bunch of my own games on there, so she has everything conveniently loaded up, and she's been enjoying it.
That's very cool.
And I've gotten to buff up my collection quite a bit as well, too. So my Vita collection has easily at least doubled because I've gone out and bought a ton of Vita games, which shout out to the people on Twitter for recommending a lot of really awesome looking, mostly anime game series.
Cool, dude.
Yeah.
Congrats on your girlfriend getting into video games.
Thank you.
It's cool.
Thank you. Very much appreciate it.
I know you were pretty proud of that. So.
Yes. Yeah. It's been a fun ride. So
yeah, absolutely.
And it's gotten me back into the Vita because then I've been messing around with other things on there. I've been playing stuff. There's still games that are coming out either on the digital storefront or limited run games. Are you familiar with limited run?
Yeah, some games, but not a lot. It's not something I keep up with.
So limited run, they not limited run, but Sony at this point, they're no longer producing Vita systems or cartridges. So now the last brand new Vita cartridges that are going to be coming out are really just all coming from limited run, because limited run had to actually cancel several games that either couldn't make it in time or weren't polished enough, or they didn't have the final code that was ready to go onto a cartridge. And limited run is they pretty much just had to do a giant order of every single game that they could before the cutoff date. So now for any new Vita physical releases within the next year or two, those are pretty much all going to be coming out of limited run. And thanks to them just ordering tens of thousands of cartridges before Sony closed up shop on that.
Gotcha. So they bought just the writable cartridges, the actual physical media? Or,
no, because
do you have to get them printed?
You have to get them printed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but earlier this year, Sony said, hey, by this cutoff date, we will no longer ever be printing Vita cartridges again.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Well, dang.
Yep.
That's kind of sad.
It is.
But,
I know, man. I know.
Yeah, I mean, the Vita seemed like a cool system. I haven't had the time to get into something new in a while, but it's something, especially once it's end of life, we're not chasing down exploits. I would love to just like spend some time, get a Vita, dive in there. Obviously, the PSP was my favorite thing to mod of all time, so that's pretty cool. Now, has your girlfriend does she care about the modding side of things at all?
She's seen me mod things either software-wise or hardware-wise. She thinks it's cool, but she's like, yeah, this is all hands-off for me. So it's very much like, even, because this is the only system she has, but I even got to a point where I was like, okay, cool. Here's all the stuff. It's all set up. These are the apps you don't touch. Those are for me. Whenever I have to manage your Vita, these are all your games. These are all for you. Do whatever you want. And we did have to make her an account. So I was like, make a PlayStation Network account. We're going to use this app. All right, sign in here, and you're good.
Crazy. Is this like the first step into getting her into modding, or are you planning on just keeping that clear away from her?
Probably not. I mean, if she wants to venture into modding, she can always hit me up. I feel like I'm a good local resource for that. But when it comes down to it, like, no, she's got to be getting into the games first.
Yeah.
Because she's not like a tech head or anything.
Take what you can get for now.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really cool, man. That's awesome.
Yes. So that's been a fun time
fun.
for her, for myself. Yeah. Again, I've been getting into the Vita again. So now there's like 1 or 2 games I'm playing through on there and really enjoying it.
Have you found anything new in the hacking scene that's caught your interest that you maybe hadn't paid attention to before, or have you been mostly focused on games that you're catching up on?
I started going back to the games on there. I mean, of course, there's like stuff here that we're going to be talking about in ModChat, but when it comes to like the Vita stuff, I think one of my favorite things, which I think one person was saying here, Jerry was saying, so will spoofing be able to accommodate those new games? I can actually answer that. Spoofing alone cannot, but there's this one awesome little plugin called Refood, which I did a video on. I think it was the last video I put out. And what you do is you load a keys file onto your SD card or wherever you're saving your information to. Well, I guess technically it'd be the internals of the Vita. You set up your plugin, you reboot your system, and then with that, it allows you to decrypt any newer firmware games on the fly. So not only are spoofing your firmware version to get onto PSN and all that stuff, but then any games that have come out, like if I buy a game right now that's brand new, I can play it on my system, my 3.6 firmware system with no issue.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think we covered it several months ago, and then it was a few months after that I didn't get a chance to use it until, because I didn't have a use case for it. Until I ran into a game where it wasn't working, and I was like, oh, this is great. I love this. So big shout out to all the developers. I think it was Team, I don't want to mess up the name. Let me look it up at least. But
yeah, I can't remember either.
Yes.
Well, that is seriously awesome, dude.
Yes, yeah, it's been a fun time. Yeah, by the FAPS team, that's what it is.
Oh man, I don't know if I noticed that before.
Yeah,
but yeah, Refood.
Yes,
very cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait one day to get into it. I'm sure it's going to be pretty nostalgic.
If you ever want to get into it, just let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. So that's about all I've done for recent modding, because I have been busy with life stuff the past like over a month or so since we did this. I got sick twice as well too.
Rough, dude.
Yeah.
I felt like last year I got sick a lot. Luckily, so far this year I've actually fared pretty well. So I feel for you for sure. But man, that stinks.
Yeah. But I got over both of them, thankfully. It was one of those things where I got sick, and it was just like a bad cold. So I got sick, lasted about a week, was fine, was okay for a week. Then I got sick again. And even like my girlfriend and I were talking about this, and she was just like, wait, didn't you just get sick? Yep. Didn't you just recover? Yeah. I'm sick again. It's like, oh, wow, okay.
I'm pretty sure I was there last year at some point.
I hate being sick so much. It just gets in the way of everything. Then you take medicine. Like when I take medicine, man, like I can't like think properly. So
I hear you.
Like if you're talking to me, I'm like, I understand like a quarter of the words you're saying.
I'm a lightweight to Dayquil. It just messes me. I can't even like take it if I have like having to work or do anything functional. Like I hardly ever take stuff like that. So Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, man.
Thank you.
You sound good.
Thank you. Very much appreciate it. Yeah. How about yourself, man? Been talking about myself this whole
Yeah,
damn
I mean,
time.
I've been good. I've been very busy with life too. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff coming up too. Like just all around. I haven't really done much of anything with modding over the last month, but I have kept myself really busy in other areas. I've been working on a lot of like getting kind of prepared for some personal projects.
Okay.
And I've learned a lot about what's called Firebase recently. Have you heard of this?
No, not at all.
So it's pretty neat. I actually kind of stumbled upon it. I had been kind of working with this tool called CouchDB, which is a database, and kind of what I was using it for was building mobile apps to have like very, very near instant syncing between a mobile device and like the server, and offline first capability. So like if you were like editing, let's say a to-do list or a grocery list or anything really on your phone, if you didn't have the internet connection, you still want to be able to edit it. You just want it to sync when you're online. Yeah. And this would all work as opposed to like having to rely on like a data or an API call, right? That has to hit a server to like do these kind of actions. Right. So, and then I kind of stumbled into this Firebase thing that Google makes that is like basically there's a free tier that's basically a backend for like Google or Facebook or Twitter or even email authentication. It's got a free database that does the same kind of thing and a bunch of free other stuff. So I'm kind of like, I've been practicing with a lot of this stuff, and I think I'm going to dive into like developing some apps that I'm either just going to use kind of for portfolio worthy stuff, maybe, you know what I mean? Just kind of like having some open source projects and or maybe I'll release something. And along the way, even one of the frameworks I'm using is Ionic for mobile development. I might have mentioned it to you before.
Sounds familiar.
It's like cross-platform web development, so it can compile to Android and iOS, but it's all built on web development stuff. And I actually contributed a few pull requests, some code changes to the project because I found some things that I didn't think were the way I wanted it, or like not necessarily any bugs, but improvements along the way. And I added some documentation, and they were very appreciative. So I've been participating in some open source stuff lately.
Very nice. That's the type of shit that makes you feel like warm and fuzzy on the inside as well too, and just really taps into that potential. So. It was like I had 3 pull requests in like a week and a half, and I was so excited. I kept telling my girlfriend, I was like, I've got another one up, and like 3 hours later I was like, they merged it. They said thank you. They appreciate it. So it was really cool. It does feel like super good, you know, and this is like a tool that I've been using for months, you know what I mean? So to get some praise and to kind of see my contributions, and I got the update because it's like a framework, right? So it's like I update my framework locally, and then I saw the changes roll in that I put in there. So that's awesome. It was really cool. Congratulations. Yeah. So I'm keeping myself really busy, but I just haven't done much with modding at all. I understand. I mean, shoot, yeah, it's just been so busy. So been on work trips, been all kinds of stuff. Now I'm trying to like start to prepare to like figure out where I'm going to move and stuff. Good luck with that. Yeah. Like seriously, like best of luck with that. Moving is just stressful and expensive, and I hate it. Yeah. I really hate it. I know. I'm trying to be like not optimistic, but like a conservative with my money right now to just help prepare for whatever unforeseen costs they're going to be. So it's going well, you know. Saving money feels good. And I'm being responsible. Yeah. So, but yeah, keep myself busy with a lot of code stuff. Not really modding related, but I did flash the iOS 13 beta on my phone. Okay. Which has been interesting. Interesting how? It's working okay right now. Okay. Yeah. When I first booted it, it seemed pretty nice. It's got a bunch of nice features like dark mode. They have swipe typing built in now, so I don't have to have a third-party keyboard. CarPlay got a huge update, which is really nice. My Apple Watch didn't work. It was not getting notifications, and it wouldn't let me unpair it. So then I factory reset the watch, and then it wouldn't let me repair it. And then I got really frustrated and gave up yesterday after working on it for like an hour. And this morning I was like, if I can't get this to work like first try, I'm going to restore it back to iOS 12. You know, I have to go through that whole factory reset process and everything. And then it just paired first try. So I was like, okay. Lovely. And then I've had like YouTube did a weird thing. We were at the gym and I was like, I want to watch some YouTube videos while I'm on the bike.
and it kept playing the video audio, but it was always showing the thumbnail of the next video in the list, whether it was the watch later or the search, as the video.
Interesting.
So I got an unrelated thumbnail as the video portion. And then my AirPods started cutting in and out, and I was like, oh, this is rough. I'm at the gym, and I can't
Life is tough as a beta tester. I understand.
Don't have a laptop. Don't have anything. You know what I mean? Like, I'm at the gym, like, and then it just, like, all day today, it's worked.
Mm-hmm.
So living that beta life right now.
I feel that.
But the improvements are nice enough where I'm like, I don't want to go back.
I got you.
I mean,
and for me on my Pixel 3a XL, I'm just stable, latest stable on this. I'm not messing with it at all.
I don't know if it's worth really showing on the stream, but you will appreciate it. I feel like for like just being kind of an Android user, like
sure,
flip down, dark mode off.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, so
that
dark,
is really nice.
and it dark modes everything that's Apple oriented. Mm-hmm. So dialer, messages, Safari,
just native dark mode. That's really cool.
And then apps can be updated to support it. A lot of apps obviously have their own built-in dark mode things that they roll their own. Mm-hmm. Like Twitter has it, Reddit has it. Yep. So I've kind of like turned all that stuff on, but it's been,
did you know that dark mode actually saves on your battery?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
I didn't even think about that. So when I first saw an article, I think it was from iFixit, and they're like, we're gonna test and see if dark mode will save on battery life, and I was like, what? I've never even thought of that. Okay. And yeah, the overall, the TLDR of it is, yes, it does, because your screen has to work a lot less when it's generating either a black image per pixel or nothing.
Especially with OLED screens.
Yeah, because black is just nothing. Right.
It's not even like powering the pixel at that point. It's and you can test this. Like when I first got an OLED phone, an Android phone, which was quite a few years ago now, I remember literally going, like, right after I got it, I was so happy. I went into a pitch black room, like the laundry closet or something, and like put on a flat black wallpaper, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it was a Nexus phone, so like the navigation buttons were showing, and I just like, it was like full screen. I just touched it to make the navigation buttons hide because it was on the gallery, and like the navigation buttons were letting off enough light where I was like, this is impossible, and I clicked it, and it was just pitch black.
Wow. Screen
Screen at full brightness. But not, because it's not even on.
Because it's black,
right?
So.
And
cool.
I've known about that for quite a while, actually, and
I never even thought of it. It was something that never even crossed my mind.
And I think part of the reason why actually is that for a long time Google actually had a pretty dark UI by default. You think they're like Ice Cream Sandwich and Kit Kat days, like everything was black, and that's when a lot of this stuff started coming out. And so it wasn't until Google actually started, what some people would say is starting to copy Apple's aesthetic, where they brought in a lot more white, very bright, flat colors. It kind of started with the material design, actually. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't like that Web 3.0, Web 3.0, just like very bright white.
Well, the white, I don't like it. The material design, like the way the web apps look now, I kind of like it.
Sure.
But I like the dark mode, kind of light and dark direction we're going, because that's actually getting built into web browsers now, so websites will actually be able to respond off of like a desktop's dark mode. Like they're putting hooks into Chrome and stuff like that to detect the operating system if it's using dark mode, and then Chrome can tell the website if you're using dark mode.
That's
and so
cool.
Literally, like, I like that feature.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that feature of like being able to go back and forth. I don't even need lots of themes. Like that
Yeah,
solves a lot of it too. Like light and dark mode, if you can build that into almost everything, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it wasn't until Google started like copying some of that really bright aesthetic, and people were kind of like, hey, whoa, like this isn't as good on my battery life.
Mm-hmm.
And then people were like clamoring for dark mode, and finally
that really
Google
explains quite a bit. Now I kind of want to go back to older phones. Like if I could go back in time, go back to older phones, try and make everything as black as possible on there, and maybe I would have squeezed a few extra hours of battery life out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because again, that was just something I never heard of. So
that's wild.
Well,
that
never thought of, I should say.
That actually surprises me with you being in the Android scene like a bit, even just with custom ROMs and stuff like that. Because even like a lot of like custom themes and stuff like that were like battery optimized pitch black themes.
Dude, I didn't even start consciously going after dark mode until 2016. And it was just one of my friends. I remember he called me out on it. Like he saw me on Twitter. He's like, dude, what are you doing? It's like, what? He's like, what are you doing? Look. It's like, what are you talking about? I'm on Twitter. He's like, dark mode. Come on, man.
You know, it's funny actually. And I've gone through it, especially with macOS getting dark mode. My phone getting dark mode now. I've tried dark mode on macOS because I can flip that on like immediately, and everything goes dark. Even Chrome goes dark now, and stuff like that. It's already got that built into it, and I don't like it as much for whatever reason. On the desktop, I kind of like my bright UI.
Okay.
Now some things I'll use code in a dark UI, and almost all code editors, all the ones that I use, all come stock with a dark theme.
Sure.
For whatever reason, I like that. But for everything else, yeah, I don't know.
I gotcha.
But yeah, it's kind of weird. The phone, I like it a lot. Anyways, that's basically what I've been up to.
Right on. I know you were saying here, one of the things that you'd said many times, you haven't really done anything modding related. So I actually have something that could hopefully fix that here. This isn't really for you. I don't know if she's watching or not, but
not.
Devin, this is okay. This is for you to pass on.
Yeah.
There's everything there. What, Lily?
I really hope not. I don't think I have any. I haven't got any messages being I'm watching you. So yeah, should I explain? I guess.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh God. Okay. So, basically, this is obviously a PSP. Like we had talked about, this is a 2000 model. This is silver.
Yes.
I had mentioned to Danny that I was thinking about my girlfriend had shown some interest in my PSP that I had. She was excited, and she kind of made a comment she wanted to play it, and we haven't gotten around to it. But she, I think she was fond of it when she was younger, and I don't know. She just showed a genuine interest in it, and I was I want to buy a PSP. I haven't messed with one in a long time. Not since we kind of hung out and I upgraded mine, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
And
we found that dude, that one battery. Remember how swole that was?
Yeah. Devin had a swollen battery. Apparently, that's kind of a regular thing now with PSP batteries.
They're getting old, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looked like that thing was about to pop, dude. It was so close. But anyways, so I was I want to get one, mod it. I think that'd be fun. And then load it up with all my, because I've still got all my old PSP stuff. I've kept everything, so load it up with all my games and maybe some emulators and stuff like that. She's also thinking about she kind of showed some interest in a Switch and maybe the new Pokemon games that are coming.
Sure.
So I thought maybe get her Fire Red or something like that. Get her to kind of go through what a mainline game feels like.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this is completely unmodded right now. Is that true? Or
I was gonna.
almost?
So let me tell you a story about that. So originally, because I got a bunch of PSPs for cheap from Japan, and I had such a fun time modding those up again, man. And I kept one of them that I was gonna give you. I kept one of them, a Red 3000, unmodded. It was on firmware. I think I did update the firmware to 6.61, and that was it. But what happened was then at one point I hit up Devin because you were I was just hey, do you want 2 or 3000? And
I was basically indecisive.
Yeah, and I was just I'll give you the 3000. It's fine. I have more 3000s to give. And then I was okay, Devin, we have a problem. I just found out that the 3000 does not charge. And I don't want to give you all a PSP that doesn't charge. So would you all be cool with the 2000? And you said, yeah, sure, that's going to be fine. So the other night I was assembling this. And then I remembered this was one of the ones I modded because I modded all of them except the 3000.
Yeah.
So Devin, what I did, and this was so fun. It was a little bit painful, but it was so fun. I no longer have my magic memory stick, but I still have my jig kick. So I had to charge it up. I was trying the other sticks I had. I didn't program any of them with this because I no longer have my magic memory stick. So I had to go, and it's so much easier to do. I had to find, I think it was it wasn't PSP Filer, but it was some type of PSP program. I tried a couple, but the second one I did, I was able to flash I took one of these micro SD card to pro adapters, but I used a micro SD card. I was able to get one to successfully flash a certain way with the IPL. I got all the files copied over. I popped it in here. It ended up booting up beautifully, and I ended up reflashing this with 5.00 official firmware. Wow. So this is on a lower firmware, and it is stock. So I modded this, and then I unmodded it just for you, man.
I've actually I've kind of wanted to do that with my 3DS. Because I've got all my old backups. I kind of want to unmod it, update it, go completely fresh, and then just start again.
And it's amazing now how it used to take us 2-3 hours to do the 3DS stuff. Yeah. And now it's going to take you 20 minutes.
Yeah. So I kind of want to go through that again. Same thing almost with my Wii U too. I don't remember where my Wii U was left off because I remember it was like I had cold boot hacks going, and then there was an update that was like disable cold boot hacks or you might brick. And so I don't remember where I left that on that.
I do remember that. I remember we talked about it.
And I know there were some definite advances on the Wii U that I would like to catch up on. But
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with this so far, it's the PSP 2000. It's got a battery. I end up having to get a battery cover, so if that doesn't match, that's why. It's not nice Chinese bootleg stuff. Charger, one of these nice little. I decided not to put the Scream Protector on for you because I know you're a master at that.
Yes.
So you're going to be better than me. And then because we talked about this, it already has a 64 gig micro SD card in there. It has one of these, and then this is a second one because we talked about it.
The second one?
I was going to give you a second one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah, because I remember we kind of just brought it up. I was like, do you want like a spare one for like some? Because I think you had talked about wanting one of these. And I was like, I could just give you one, like an extra one. So.
Oh, I thought, okay, just the actual adapter.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
I thought you meant another SD.
You got to bring your own micro SD
fine.
card. But this thing is all ready to go. So I would say, I guess I'm giving it to you to give to someone else.
Yes, and I'll put a little work in it. I'm probably going to, I'm going to keep this a secret because her birthday is in August.
Oh, damn it. And we're blasting it on the stream. I hope she doesn't watch now.
Every once in a while, she'll be like, oh, I popped in for like 5 minutes.
It's like, wait, where?
And so it's just like, I hope that this wasn't that 5 minutes. But yeah, thank you.
No problem, dude.
Awesome.
No problem. Yeah, no, I hope you really enjoy it. The only disclaimer I should give on you with this is, of course, battery's third party, but the disk drive I noticed on this one, it works. But when you play a disc in here, it kind of sounds like a rodent is dying. So I figured that's probably not going to be a problem for you all because you're probably not going to play UMDs on here. No. But I just want to give you that heads up. It works. It sounds like a hamster is dying.
That's okay.
Cool.
So I probably won't be using it hardly at all, if ever, to be honest.
Yeah.
But that is awesome. Thank you very much.
No problem.
I can't wait. So
yeah, this is months in the making because I ordered everything from overseas.
Yeah.
This was China. This was China. This was China. The battery's China. The system's Japan. This was China. Yeah, nothing was from here, man. It's Japanese PSP as well. So
I'm cool with that.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be reporting back with what happens.
Do it, man.
All right. Well, that's all I have for the kind of pre-show.
And that's all I have. I think before we get into stuff, we do need to address this donation we got here.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah.
Definitely. Justin Sheppers, I'm going to say.
Sheppers, yeah, I'd say that's it.
Let's go with that. Your modding tutorials have helped me so much. I'm guessing that is you.
What?
Not me.
You're not the person who makes modding tutorials?
Not usually.
Ah, shit.
No, I don't think
All
I've made any.
Well, Justin, thank you so much. I'm glad they helped out, and thank you for the $2 donation.
Yeah, it's very awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, man. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into these topics finally. This went a lot longer than I was thinking, almost 30 minutes, but,
yes.
Good God.
All right.
We got a decent amount to go through here.
Let's pick up the pace, dude.
Yeah, let's pick it up. Since this is your forte a bit,
yeah, sure.
do you mind taking this first one?
I don't mind at all. I thought this was pretty interesting. Cool. So, you said it caught the whole scene off guard.
It did.
I hadn't heard about anything like this.
I can tell some stories about it, but I'll go ahead and let you take this here.
Sure. So basically what we're talking about is Spine, which is a PS4 emulator for Linux. So this is already running some commercial games. I saw a couple things talking about the compatibility and whatnot. But this is pretty cool. I found it particularly interesting because I like Linux, and I think there's kind of like a couple interesting things about it too. It's first of all, if you are running Linux or you run this in an emulator, which you're probably going to lose performance if you do that. So
of course,
it's way better to run this on bare metal. It's going to be really easy to install because they distribute this through Flatpak. So I thought that was pretty neat. And overall, I don't know. I'm kind of curious to hear what your story is, but this looks like a pretty cool emulator. The UI looks really nice. Mm-hmm. Obviously compatible with a PS4 controller.
Yes. So essentially the story with this that I have, and it kind of, they actually touch upon it here on the Wololo article where they say, first of all, it is closed source. So it's not open source, unfortunately.
Right.
It's also not Windows based. It's Linux. So that also threw off a lot of people. It was released one of the first mentions here was a video published on April Fool's Day. And then they didn't upload the person who made it. I think they're like called like Spine PS4 dev, I want to say. The person who created it here, the developer, he put on some random hosting site that wasn't GitHub. So you have this Linux only random download PS4 emulator that's announced on April Fool's Day that is apparently supposed to already be playing commercial games. So everyone thought bullshit. Mm-hmm. Everyone thought bullshit on that. And then what happened was some trusted members of the scene who are, mentioned here. I think, who was it? Let me see. Yeah, like, not Zico Shao, I want to say. I don't know how to say your name. Smugnia. That's at least the display name. All right, that makes it easier. They ended up trying it. Several other notable figures in the PS4 scene tried it, and they're like, actually, this is legit. Despite the odd circumstances and release dates and release layout here, this is a legitimate emulator. Good job.
Yeah, and we've seen, I don't know, I thought it was pretty interesting seeing some of these emulators like the Wii U one kind of evolve over time and start to run games, better and better. For this to come out the gate like this is pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. I don't really know if we know too much about the developers, if it's one person or a team, but this is definitely like a really impressive feat coming out the gate. Mm-hmm. It is a little bit of a bummer, I'm sure, for a lot of people. I like you kind of mentioned, I think people are more used to these things like coming out for Windows. It seems to be probably the most popular platform, but
yeah,
Linux is getting a lot of love lately.
It is
with video game stuff. So
thankfully,
there's definitely a side of me that thinks this is really cool because of that. So, if you don't have Linux installed, is this really worth running right now?
It's worth messing around with. If you're really wanting to give it a shot, it is absolutely worth messing around with, I would say. But if you're wanting to like actually play through a game, no, it wouldn't be. And the dev's name, by the way, is Dev of Spine. So we don't know anything else about them. We just know they are the developer of Spine, and they are called Dev of Spine. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's pretty wild.
It is. It is.
Hopefully, we see future releases. It is a bummer that this isn't open source currently. So that itself has its ups and downs. Mm-hmm. But great nonetheless.
Sure.
Hopefully they keep developing on this. And I don't know, it's things like this too that sometimes seem to kickstart the open source scene as well. You know what I mean? Sometimes when like you have these proprietary closed source solutions that come out, it seems like rapidly the scene starts to get that stuff out into the open.
Yeah.
So it would be cool if we saw something pop up.
It would be. Yeah. Good stuff.
Before we move on, I think we have another donation.
We do, yeah. Looks like that's 10. That has to be €10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it looks more like £10. Okay, my bad.
£10.
Yeah, no, the euro, because that has more like the curved E shape.
Sorry, we're ignorant Americans.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
£10 from David. Have you both used Raspberry Pi for emulation, and what do you think of it? I ordered the Raspberry Pi 4. I have a setup with the whatchamacallit, RetroPie or whatever, and it's pretty good. I wanted to do a little bit better, and I kind of like the Switch has kind of replaced that for me. Mm-hmm. So I like mine. Will I upgrade to the Pi 4 just for that? No, but the Pi 4 does look like a good upgrade.
Yeah, I think I'm going to hold off on the Pi 4 for a bit, just because that is something I do want to absolutely mess around with. But right now I have several Pi 3. I don't have the 3B Plus. I have the 3B. I have several of them. I've messed with RetroPie, of course, on there. I just don't. I don't ever make it like a mainstay or something that I'm really, really into, unfortunately. Like, I have one where I popped a SD card, like a micro SD card in there. I loaded up with the games I want to play, mostly PS1 stuff. Played around with it, really enjoyed it, had it up in my office for a bit, and I just haven't used it for a few months.
Yeah.
So I think it would be, the Raspberry Pi 4 would absolutely be a beast of a single board computer emulation machine. And there's different tiers of it as well too, from what I understand. So now it goes from $35 to $55 depending on, how much RAM you want with it, anywhere from 1 to 4 gigs.
Which I do like, because I don't know. I kind of wish they would put up a higher tier Raspberry Pi. Try and broaden that just a little bit, but the different RAM choices is a nice start.
Yeah.
So hopefully this one can get Nintendo 64 emulation smoothed out.
That's what everyone is really looking forward to see how much it can help out. Because the N64 emulation on current Pi hardware is rough.
Even PlayStation 1 emulation wasn't too bad on the Pi 3.
Yeah. No, it really wasn't, thankfully. Yeah. But yeah, the next thing we can cover here is I wanted to give this site a little bit of a shout out. We're really not going to be going in on this here all too much, going in like a good way, just because this is not something you just like quickly go through. It's something that you're actually supposed to check out, read, and everything. But I want to give a shout out to Gregory Rasputin's site, where apparently he's been working on this project for a decent amount of time. But this is PS4History.net, which is supposed to be the complete history of the PS4. Now, of course, this is still a work in progress because the PS4 is a current system, and I'm sure as they find more historical things, they're going to toss them up on here. So if there's something that you know of that is not in here, you can certainly reach out to them and help contribute or edit things, whatever you want to on here. But I wanted to, kind of just mention this, and he was saying here, many of you know my love for telling the history of games consoles, not the fancy soft history, but the complete and detailed history of the console I'm writing about. If you have read PS3 history, you will know I'm quite detailed on what I write. For over 2 years, people have been asking me if I'll be writing a PS4 history, to which I kept saying no, mainly because I did not have the time. But last year I was talked into creating this site you now see by Mr. Niato. I don't want to butcher his first name. Unlike PS3 History, which I contribute to all on my own, I'll be receiving help from sceners and developers such as Mr. Niato right there. As this is 2019, we have more than 6 years history to add before we even start on current day history. So here he's kind of talking about, game releases, official firmware releases, hacks, lawsuits, PS4 model releases, PC software. And one thing I wanted to talk about here, I think it was it 2019? Let me check. Just like as an example, you can look through and see. And this I thought was funny. I wanted to share this with you all. I didn't know about this, but January 25th, 2019, there was a lawsuit or court case or legal thing that happened related to the PS4. And this was a French teenager is jailed for 4 months after he bought a PS4 at a supermarket for €9. That's the euro sign there. It's €9. The reason he got in trouble is because he weighed the console at the fruit vegetable section, put the price sticker for the weight, then paid for it at the self-service tills. He left the store and sold the console for €100 so that he could buy a train ticket. He was caught when he went back to the same store to try and pull the same trick.
What?
This man got greedy. But yeah, that is you'll find anything from game releases to stuff like that, and this is really cool. I think this is great. So,
wow, yeah, I did not see that. That's pretty.
If you're ever wanting some detailed ongoing history of the PS4, definitely check out PS4History.net. I've had a fun time checking this out. So, Gregory Rasputin, big shout out to you for working on this. This is a dope project.
Yeah, I went through a couple of the first few years and kind of just breeze through them, and it's really interesting. I like the way it's kind of organized, and I also glossed over the PS3 history one, and I could see myself kind of going down this rabbit hole for an afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
would even consider kicking this guy a few dollars.
He does have a Patreon on his page,
Patreon,
so that is entirely possible.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So it will be, after the show is over and such, at least once it's done being live streamed, it will be posted up on in the show notes down below in the description if you want to check this out. But again, PS4History.net, definitely worth the read, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to be diving in more.
Hell yeah. It's research.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
You got to make time for this podcast, man.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to dive on that, or should we move on?
No, let's move on.
So, I thought this was particularly cool.
Yes.
I was pretty jacked about this.
Yes.
The PS4 is honestly getting, from what you've shown me, a lot of love in the homebrew department.
It is.
So
but remember, the PS4 scene is dead.
Yeah, right. Well, I think it's just a lot of stuff has just been coming out that helps support this. Like, the PS4 has been getting a lot of good, just development support in general to help make these games.
Yes.
So, that's really cool. What we're talking about here is a Duck Hunt remake by a developer known as Lapy,
Yeah.
who actually made another game we're going to be talking about here that's pretty similar. But yeah, so you basically take the DualShock controller, hold it sideways, and kind of hold it like a gun, if you will, from one of the handles, and actually use it to play Duck Hunt, and it's a pretty well done emulator.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It's like a remake, really.
It's completely redone. Yeah. Yeah, I'll even show it here. I think this, I think Mr. Turkey or Master Turkey, I don't remember his name, but I believe he had made this video here where, it's just like right here as being demonstrated. Like you have to, hold the DualShock 4 as shown in the image, aim to the center of the screen, calibrate decenter of the sight. You can calibrate as many times as you wish during the gameplay. This actually reminds me of, there are some patches. I think it's called like NES LCD mod. I want to say that's what it is. And essentially you go and you download the patch from the site, and you have to get a hold of a ROM, you patch the ROM, and it has a screen like this. And if you have original Nintendo or even like Famiclone or Nintendo clone hardware, and you have a way of playing that ROM, and you have a LED light gun, which you can get for like $8 or $10, or you can modify a original Zapper yourself, you can pretty much do something like that, and you can play the original games.
That's really cool.
On the hardware. So when I patched my games, it was something very similar to this. But yeah, this is a really great homebrew Duck Hunt remake on the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't recommend this enough. And it even has multiplayer.
Yeah.
It has a 2-player multiplayer on here in the latest update, which is 1.01.
Probably works better than those half-broken guns at the arcade.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah. I love Duck Hunt. This has a special place in my heart. I played the crap out of that when I was a kid, so that is awesome. I was stoked when you showed me that.
Yes. And it's Master Turkey. That's his name. So.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
I think Master Turkey is the YouTube channel. From what I was reading.
Lapy is the developer.
Yeah.
But Master Turkey is the person who was doing the video.
Okay, yeah.
Big shout out to Lapy for that.
And
he has just been a coding machine on this stuff. I've been following him on Twitter. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And in a similar vein, he remade a game called, what was it called? Because I'd never heard of this game.
I have very limited experience with this one.
It's called Wild Gunman?
Wild Gunman, yes. He also ended up making this, which is another Nintendo classic, which he remade as PS4 Homebrew. And from what I understand, I think he even releases PC versions, but we're covering the PS4 versions here.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, we're going to be covering those ones. Yeah.
Right. But it's pretty cool. I mean, it definitely has the same, Duck Hunt style, probably built with the same, foundation or engine.
Mm-hmm.
So you hold the PS4 controller up in a similar way, shoot, you're not shooting at moving objects. This is more like a old Western, like, draw kind of thing. But, that's even a different video I'd watch. I watched the one on the left, and it was
that's the original. I'm checking out the 1.02 one.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, this is pretty neat. I mean, obviously, there's going to be multiple uses for this kind of light gun, not emulation, but recreation.
Yes. Because I don't even know if, I don't think there's any official Sony games that have done anything like this.
Yeah.
So that's what's really cool as well, too.
So, really neat and really cool for the PS4 scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's been really awesome. So we wanted to give a bunch of love for that, of course. Yeah.
Absolutely. Nice job, Lapy.
Nice job, Lapy.
Keep it up. And as well as the, what's the YouTube channel?
Master Turkey. Who got the footage for these?
Yeah,
just little demos.
Nice videos. I would say keep that up too. I think those are really cool.
Hell yeah.
So we're not done in PS4 Homebrew news.
We are not.
We've got a game.
We have another game we want to cover.
And it's called Pinball Wizard. And you've seen pinball games before, but dang, I was impressed with this one too.
Yes.
This looks really nice.
This one is not done by Lapy. This one is by Snake Plissken. But yeah, this is a 3D homebrew type game. It's done in Unity from what I see.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is pinball. I love pinball, so I need to play this as well too.
Yeah, I definitely don't mind me some pinball, and the graphics look great. I don't know if this is based off of a real pinball machine or if this is totally like his own creation, but I think it's really neat. Like, it looks like an entertaining pinball cabinet to play.
Yeah, look at this shit. Oh, this is cool. I like this. I like it a lot.
If you get this up and running, I would definitely not mind playing it sometime.
All right, next time we hang out, I'm doing this.
Yeah, dude.
I'm getting all these. making sure
Absolutely.
they're fully
Yes,
updated.
and the
all that
duck
stuff.
hunt.
Yes, yeah, no,
wanna play that.
The duck hunt is a must.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for something like that on the Switch. Could you imagine like just setting your like Switch on the table and
Oh my goodness, that'd be fantastic.
Because they have World of Goo. Like why you can?
So I've never played World of Goo, so I'm kind of out of the loop on
It
that.
uses normally you have to have a Wiimote or something like that, like our touch controls, because you're
Okay.
like pointing and clicking and dragging. Like I've seen it. I guess you just use the Switch controller and just point at the screen, and it uses the accelerometer and whatever accurately enough to be able to simulate what a Wiimote did.
Very cool.
So like I want some Duck Hunt. I think that would be an awesome party game.
That would be. I mean, they already have the if you pay for Nintendo Switch Online, the Nintendo games that come out on there. Just add a modified version of Duck Hunt.
And we've seen the golf or whatever.
Yes.
Flog,
yeah, which was, I think that was removed on like one of the 3.something firmwares.
Right, but they were able to get, motion controls in that game.
Yes.
So why not Duck Hunt?
Why not
Duck Hunt?
Why not Duck Hunt?
Hashtag that.
Yeah. I really wonder why, just talking about Flog, I really wonder why Nintendo removed that from the firmware.
It's sad.
Yeah.
I actually was looking forward to it actually coming and being a thing that people could actually access on. What was it? Was it the anniversary of Iwata's death or his birthday?
I think it was his birthday, yeah. For anybody that doesn't know, Flog it is a Nintendo emulator that was created for the Switch, officially from Nintendo. It was hidden in the Switch firmware. Again, unfortunately, as of one of the 3.something firmwares, it was removed. But the way you could officially unlock it without any hacks was you have to wait for Iwata's birthday to come around. And you have to actually connect to the internet and get the actual time on there. So if you do it all legitimately without any type of external or internal mods or any other trickery, you have to wait until Iwata's birthday, and then you have to take the Joy-Cons and kind of do the directly to you motion. And if you do that properly, it unlocks Flog, which is the golf. Well, it's the Nintendo emulator, which only plays golf, but it's an updated build of golf, which, as you said, has motion control and all that in there. Yeah.
I'm bummed because I didn't get to do that. I almost want to see if I can downgrade my Switch to a lower firmware. I guess use emuNAND or something.
You don't even need emuNAND really. I mean, you could just do it with with Choy de Jour.
Choy de Jour, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
I guess
entirely
it'd just
possible.
be if I could get emuNAND to run with it, it'd just be, I guess, potentially a little bit easier. I don't know. Choy de Jour was pretty easy to use.
Yes. Oh, it's so easy.
But yeah,
Choy de Jour NX. Choy de Jour there's Choy de Jour for the PC. And then Choy de Jour NX is the Switch one, and NX is just so easy to use. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe I'll experiment with that. I don't remember when his birthday is, but it would be awesome if we could get that running.
Mm-hmm.
One thing before we bounce off there, did you see that the developer of the Pinball Homebrew that we just showed off had a slight demo of Airstrike, what it was called?
This will be a first for me because I did see it. I glanced at it, but I did not look at the video.
It looks pretty impressive and fun.
Yeah, Airstrike is what it's called. We can even check it out here together.
It's on the latter
Let's see.
half of that video.
Okay.
So it's a while of Pinball.
Oh yeah, this is all right. Yeah, this is way in there.
So if you start right at where it goes to, I think it's on the 22nd second of the minute that it transitions over.
Okay.
So should be relatively soon after this.
Let's see.
But it looks pretty good. Now, it doesn't look like it's, complete, obviously. This is just a preview. And you'll see when the game actually starts, it kind of goes straight into an aerial view, no menu or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's stuff going on already, but it looks pretty impressive.
Gotcha. I'm just gonna skip forward. Oh no, okay. Looks like
shifting games now. I think
Airstrike. Okay, there we go.
Doesn't even have a logo.
All right, I thought it was supposed to somehow reboot into that or somewhere it was hidden there, but let's see.
Jump straight into flying this thing.
Holy shit!
It looks pretty nice.
Yeah.
Overall,
wow.
Switch between different point of views. For those not watching the video, it's kind of obviously in a fighter jet, and he's switching point of views between first person, third person. There's just a dozen fighter jets on the screen right now, just yeah,
I'm seeing
crazy. It's probably all computers at this point, but it looks fun. Whether it's gonna be multiplayer or not, I don't know. I think this is all the information we have. Just check out this other thing.
That's about it. Another Unity powered game.
But the sky looks pretty neat. For just homebrew, this looks
nice.
Very good, I think.
Yeah.
The models just look really nice, even if they're purchased from somewhere or whatever. good on them. It looks good.
Yeah. No, I'm really digging this. This is awesome.
A lot of exciting stuff coming.
Yes, absolutely. So many like really cool just like homebrew games. So.
Yeah. Very cool. So yeah, that was the last thing I had to say on that. I thought it was neat and worth sharing.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. There was actually, speaking of homebrew games, so I don't remember this person's name. It was on Twitter, and this is just worth sharing, but like nothing else really came out of it. There was one person who I hadn't heard of them personally, but they reached out to me on Twitter and they asked me if do you remember the game Save the Scene on PS4?
No.
That was the one where it was just...
yes, Save the Scene, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if they were trying to do something like that, but this person had asked if they were making a Switch homebrew game and they wanted to put me in it as a character. And I kind of just said, I was like, I appreciate it, but I am like nowhere near as big or deserving to be in a homebrew game like that. So I'll pass. I'm just a talking head. I don't even do Switch tutorials or anything. The most Switch stuff I do, aside from like, using the mods and such, is really just like reporting it on ModChat here, this small podcast.
That's what you get for buying good cartoonified artwork of yourself.
I guess so.
That looks like it would be good in a video game.
I guess so. Maybe. Either way, though, I did politely decline. I was just like, hey, just that's too big of a role for me. But cool. I appreciate it.
I would have played that.
I mean, whenever this game does come out, I'll probably still check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, should we move on out of PlayStation territory for just a bit?
Yeah. So we're going to be hopping into some Nintendo territory, as if we weren't there already with the PS4 homebrews.
Right.
Yeah.
But not the Switch yet. No. The DSi actually got some love. And in fact, it's been getting a bit of love lately. I mean, we talked about some, I think was it last month you demoed your cold boot?
I did.
Exploit?
Yes.
So I did. Right on the tail of that, we have a brand new exploit called Memory Pit. Is that right?
The Memory Pit exploit, that
for
is.
The DSi.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So apparently every DSi now can be hacked for free with no pre-installed apps, nothing really, just the camera app.
Yes.
No hard mods, nothing.
Yep.
So this is really awesome. Have you tried this yet, or have you looked into this?
I have not, because I don't have another DSi to play around with.
You've already kind of got...
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it at this point. But yeah, in short, I want to say a few years ago, there was custom firmware that was being developed on the DSi, and there were a few ways where you could get everything modded. So, I mean, the main way that you could do this was through Flipnote Studio. And it's an free app that you could download. But as many people might know, the DSi shop, like the official DSi shop, has gone offline. It's been offline for a bit. So prior to this coming out, if you went out and picked up a DSi yourself, you had to hope that whoever the previous owner was had downloaded Flipnote Studio and installed it on there. If it was not installed on there, the only way you could do it was if you go online, obtain the app yourself, and then perform a hard mod on your system and inject it into the NAND.
Right.
Yeah. But now at this point, every single DSi has a camera app.
Right.
And it's not getting any more updates, and it doesn't have any official store support. So now at this point, every single DSi, every single firmware, as long as the system is working and you have a SD card, you can modify your system.
Right. And it seems to be incredibly simple, too. You're basically just throwing some files from the kind of pit exploit on your SD card, putting the homebrew menu, which is like a boot.nds, at the root of your SD card. And once you go to the album, it tries to load this. I'm sure some exploit happens, whether it's some buffer overflow or something. It basically exploits that camera app or the album and boots you straight into the homebrew menu from there.
Yeah.
And you're in.
That's really cool, and that's actually, funny enough, that's actually even easier than the Flipnote Studio, because with this, from what I remember, it's like I'm very much generalizing it here, but I had to copy the files in, and then had to go somewhere in Flipnote Studio, copy and paste something somewhere else, then do another copy paste, and then when you do that, ends up crashing your system. It reboots you into that menu.
And that was another, I think that was like a buffer overflow thing too, because you're basically copying text that is too long to be in what the area it's supposed to be in, and that causes all kinds of craziness. And if you're smart enough, a lot of times you can actually take a hold of that and exploit it. So that is awesome. I really like to see that. This makes me want a DSi even more, because I feel like this is going to be around. This is probably going to be the main way of kind of getting into your DSi from now on, I would say.
Yeah, this is going. There is no reason at this point. Like if you're just an end user, you want to get custom firmware up and running on your DSi. There's really no reason to use Flipnote Studio. This is not only accessible on every single system, every single firmware, but it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's copy paste. You open the camera app, you hit album, done.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then from there, I guess you can install your cold boot exploit like you have or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I am really happy that this solution came about because that's what annoyed me with the DSi, where it's like I didn't even think I had Flipnote Studio, and thankfully past me when I picked it up, I didn't update the firmware, I didn't wipe it or anything. And GameStop, when I got it from them, they didn't wipe the thing either. So shout out to them for not following policy properly. But what ended up happening was, when I did that, I remember just thinking, I was like, this is really disappointing that I have to pretty much pray that this system is going to have Flipnote Studio. It's going to have this app that I can't get elsewhere. And the only way I can get it is if I inject it through the hard mod, which isn't impossible to do, but I've been told the points are very, 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 very tiny on the DSi.
One thing I wanted to point out, I don't know if we mentioned the developer's name, but it's Shutterbug 2000. So shout out to Shutterbug for...
We did not mention the developer's name. Thank you for bringing that up. Big thank you for bringing... Yes.
I do think it's kind of funny. This is an exploit based around the camera, and the developer's name is Shutterbug. Seems fitting.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe that was intentional, but they joined... They ended up claiming this name on GBA Temp in 2014. So unless they were really doing like some 5D chess or something, I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. But I believe MVG, Modern Vintage Gamer, he did a video on this too, and he actually was in communication, spoke with Shutterbug. And I believe Shutterbug said once he started working on it, he had everything up and running within 2-3 hours.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So the DSi has kind of just been this like hidden, untapped, lost, not really lost, but more, I guess, in the homebrew modding scene, kind of a lost handheld that many people glazed over because we kind of went from, DSi with flashcards, DS with flashcards, DSi got flashcards, and then 3DS, that went wild. And when the 3DS scene was cooling down for a little bit, that's when people were like, wait, let's look at the DSi and see what's going on there.
I feel like this is mostly out of people's boredom at this point.
Yeah.
And just to continue the shout out, Shutterbug also is one of the developers, the main ones it looks like, who worked on NDS Bootstrap Loader. So it's the 3DS homebrew application that lets you load DS games from the SD card, which I played around with when it first started coming out, and I haven't visited it in a long time. I'd like to go.
I think it's gotten much better.
Yeah, I would hope so.
I've never tried it.
It's just like at the time, I have a flash card laying around, so it's like it worked so well that I didn't really.
The flash card you're saying worked well.
Yeah. Right. But I think it'd be cool to go play around with that again. So shout out to Shutterbug. Thank you for all your hard work. This is awesome.
Yes. Yeah. If I get a hold of another DSi, I will be using this. So thank you.
Very cool. Yeah. Likewise.
Yes.
So I know you know a lot more about this next talk, and I can already see the smile on your face.
Yeah.
So I think you should take this one.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. So this is from Terraonion, who they are no stranger to products such as this. Let me see. I know they've done several others here, which I'm looking at, which, let me just bring it up on screen for anybody watching. But this is the MegaSD. This is from the same company that's done things such as the Neo SD Pro AES, which these are essentially just flashcards for the Neo Geo systems. The Super SD System 3, which I don't remember what this was for. Let me see. For the PC Engine. Okay. So this is a PC Engine flashcard, and it does a bunch of other stuff. Like I think it increases, your video output and all that as well too. They've made some really awesome kick-ass products from what I've seen. And their latest development is the MegaSD. Now, this thing is expensive. Look at that. Look at that. It is expensive.
€2.
Yes. Yeah. But the shipping is free, so that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Not bad.
From what I see here. But yeah, essentially, this thing, it is, in short, some people might be wondering, okay, well, this just looks like a Sega Genesis, Sega Mega Drive multi-card, or not a multi-card, a flash card. Like, what is so special about this? And this thing is, without a doubt, going to be the best one on the market. It hasn't come out yet. Review units have gone out. There's been several reviews made. But the reason why this is so big here is because it plays, obviously Mega Drive, Genesis games. It'll play Sega Master System games, which that's kind of expected because the Genesis is backwards compatible. It does play 32X games, but you do need the 32X hardware. So that's kind of the only downside on that. So you will need a 32X unit attached to your Genesis. You're going to need to plug it in. That does also mean that if you have the MegaSD, which is like the best Sega Genesis clone console out on the market right now, without a doubt the best one, you won't be playing 32X on there, sadly. And the biggest thing for me, which not just for me, for everyone, is this is a Sega CD, essentially a Sega CD optical disc emulator. Mm-hmm. So you do have to provide your own BIOS when you set this up. But with this, you can play Sega CD games off of a micro SD card, and it supports up to 400 gigabytes. And you're probably going to need that space because Sega CD games are much, much, much bigger than Genesis games just because they're on CD-ROMs. But the point is, you're able now to play on your original hardware or a MegaSD, like any type of compatible clone systems. You can play Sega CD games from any region as long as you have the BIOS that you can supply without the Sega CD hardware.
That's pretty sweet.
And that is big because, especially those optical drive systems, you want to preserve them, you want to take care of them and such. I am lucky enough to have a Sega CD. Now, from what I understand, even that really makes up for the cost on this, which is really nice because if you're wanting to get a hold of a Sega CD, I think to get one like full and working all that now, you're going to be paying at least $120, $150 for the unit alone.
I need to figure out if my dad still has one laying around.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do you know how much I paid for mine? $12.
Nice.
Yeah, I got it from a thrift store several years ago. I paid $12 for the Sega CD. It's a Model 2 with the power cable and Sonic CD, just on a CD.
Dude, yeah, that was probably the main game that we played.
Yeah, I was shocked to see how much they had appreciated in value.
That's crazy.
And people are wanting them. So even if you want to get a really awesome Genesis Mega Drive experience and you want to get into playing Sega CD games natively, this is without doubt the best way to do it, whether or not you have Sega CD hardware. But if you don't have a Sega CD and you're really wanting to gun after those games, play them natively, I, without a doubt, I would gun after this. I'm going to personally hold off for a bit because I've got the Sega CD, I've got the MegaSD, I've messed around with that, and this is pricey. It's not just like a $50 item, $100 item, because this is also all done thanks to the FPGA that was created. So this is not, any type of shitty software emulation. Mm-hmm. This is actual hardware that's been built to emulate that.
Right.
Create a drive emulator, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that is really cool. Some of the things to note, though, as I mentioned, the 32X, you can only play 32X ROMs if you have the 32X hardware and you have it plugged in there. From what I saw, this is a very small audience, but nonetheless something to bring up. From what I saw, it is not compatible with 32X CD games. So you can play Master System, Genesis, 32X if you have the hardware, Sega CD, but Sega 32X CD games would not be playable on there. That's a very small amount. Also, apparently the only game which is confirmed to not work for the Genesis is Virtua Racing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Do you have any idea why? Is there any reason for that?
Probably because the specialized chips in there. Because it is a actual 3D game on the system. It's cool.
I've never played it, so
I'll show it to you sometime because I bought it as well. I actually own it. I have a couple copies of it. Thankfully, surprisingly enough, even though that game you would think it's really sought after, really expensive and all that, and it was very expensive when it came out because it had all those chips thrown in. They pretty much pulled a Star Fox with it, so to speak. It's a pretty cheap game last I checked. I got my cartridge only copy for less than $10, and I have a complete in-box copy that I paid $15 for.
Wow.
So it's really not that much.
Nice.
Yeah. I guess other things I want to note as well too when I was really excited researching this, you can also, similar to like what the SD to SNES does, where you can essentially patch. Here you can now do the same thing on both of these, but now the Genesis has its equivalent. You can now patch Genesis games to play with CD-based audio. So you have to bring your own patches, bring your own audio, but you can now patch that into games and greatly increase the audio. And the other cool things are that even if you're playing on native hardware and such, you have access to a cheat engine as well as save states.
I thought that was pretty neat.
So this was all really dope. I got this information not only, you know, from the shop, but from Terraonion site. But I also want to give a big shout out to a good friend of the show, Modern Vintage Gamer, who did a phenomenal review over this. And it is a crime that this has gotten only 62,000 views. Damn.
Yeah,
still did well, but like, where is the? I would think people are interested in this. Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really even modern related. It's more like retro, but you know.
I guess.
I don't know what video. I don't know how many views you would expect, but
over 100,000, because that's.
I think MVG should always get more views.
Hell yeah. This is another thing too that I completely forgot to touch upon, but I'm glad he showed it here. The Sega Nomad, which this is the original Switch. All right, this is the Genesis equivalent of the Nintendo Switch. You can now play Sega CD games natively on this, thanks to the MegaSD.
That is awesome.
Yes.
That's super cool.
If you do one of these, please do a screen upgrade. It is totally worth it, but you can do it. So.
Wow. Yeah, the Nomad is crazy, man. I never heard of this until I think you told me about it, because I was thinking of like the Neo Geo, which is very different. But wow.
Yeah.
I think it was the Neo Geo that I was thinking of.
Was it?
The Neo Geo, yeah. I don't know. Maybe I remember seeing one of those. I'd never seen one. I think it was the Neo Geo. I saw it when I was a kid. And I'd never seen a Nomad. I don't think it was the Nomad.
Game Gear maybe.
Game Gear, maybe that's what it was. Because it was playing Sega games.
Yes.
It was a Sonic on it. I think it was a Game Gear. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never had much experience with these as a kid. And I can't believe I missed out on even knowing about the Nomad.
Yeah, I think it came out a little too late in the Genesis life cycle from what I understand. So either way, this is cool as hell. So I'm excited about it. Yeah. I will probably wait for a sale to pick it up, because again, like I'm not dying to get it, but it looks
a bit expensive.
Awesome. It is. Yeah. It is. Yeah.
But I props to all the people that put in the hard work for it. It seems like it's very well done.
Hell yeah. And based on what I've seen from Terraonion's other products, like this is totally worth it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So great job on the MegaSD, and great job MVG for the nice review.
Hell yeah.
If you haven't watched it, go check it out.
Yeah. Did you check it out?
I have. I don't remember if I finished it. I know I was at work and it was kind of like playing in the background while I was doing some stuff, soaking in the information.
Sure.
I don't think I actually finished it though. The more I think about it, so I'm probably gonna go watch it and actually dedicate the 13 minutes.
All right.
But yeah, his content is always great. I love keeping up with his stuff.
Oh yeah, MVG, we love you.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on,
we got some emulator stuff to talk about.
Yeah, this is actually pretty cool. So RetroArch, know them, love them. They do a lot of really, really good work in the emulation scene.
And by the way, I was going to ask you, so you say RetroArch, right?
Yeah.
I say RetroArch as well. I hear a lot of people say RetroArch, but that's not correct.
I don't know if
it was RetroArch, it would be RetroArc.
You'd think. Well, I guess, so when you see like arch like that, I guess, what is it shortened for? Is it architecture? And if it's architecture...
Oh, right. Yeah, retro architecture. I didn't even think of that, but...
Yeah. I don't know for sure. I like Arch.
I say RetroArch.
I used Arch Linux for a while, and I'd never heard that called Arch Linux. I remember even playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And there was like Arch Fiends, and I remember some kid called them Arc Fiends, and I was like, I don't like that. So I think I just default to that.
I don't like that.
But I call it RetroArch. I'm sorry if I offend anyone with my pronunciation. But this is really cool. So they've got a bounty out right now that's kind of on their Patreon. And basically it's kind of it's in development right now, so I haven't really looked into how good it is. I guess I didn't even see the video, but they mentioned a video.
The video, it is very
much,
I
guess it is.
It's very much a work in progress right now. It's not how it's going to be in like how it's actually going to be performing.
Right, but basically what it is a text to speech in emulator, so like almost like closed captioning. Or not closed captioning. I guess it's like the opposite.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like if you've ever seen one of those films that has descriptive audio in there, something like that.
Which is pretty interesting. So I guess this is more of like an accessibility feature.
It is, yeah. And this is very slow because this is not anywhere close to the final product. But what's happening, if I'm showing on screen, Here it shows a voice came from above. They're pausing it. Here it ends up finding the text, and you can't hear it on here, but it finds the text, it goes through an OCR process, and then there is a voice that ends up saying what was in the text out loud through your speakers. Then it continues on. And again, this is very much work in progress right now, but I love seeing stuff like this. Like I didn't even think this would be something that people would be gunning after. Like, I don't know how many people are asking for text-to-speech in emulators, but I'm sure this is going to help out a lot of people who are visually impaired and who are wanting to play through this.
Yeah.
Play through some classic games and, use... I love OCR technology.
Yeah, definitely. And accessibility is always something I like to see. I think people, in general, the software industry doesn't always give it the best attention. Mm-hmm. The reality is there's a lot of people out there that could enjoy these games and software that we use a lot more if there was just a little bit more care given to them.
Yeah.
So that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So if this is something you want to support, definitely go check out their Patreon. We'll have like the links for all that stuff, I'm sure. You can pledge $1 or a few dollars with slight rewards and stuff like that. So I don't think you get any products with this, but you're supporting the development of some really cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure where. I haven't even looked at their patron rewards on there. I'm sure they might have. Yeah, well, you get your credits. All right. Yeah, I didn't know if they issued early Patreon builds or not. That's how you see a lot of these software-based Patrons work. But no, it just seems to be it could be anywhere from getting into a Discord. It's pretty much Discord reward, Reddit flare, and getting mentioned in credits. So you can totally get credited for being in an emulator, technically.
Yeah, helping support the development. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And they're obviously very trustworthy people. The money's going to go to a good place.
Yes.
So that's not really the only thing that they're kind of trying to raise money for through Patreon.
Not at all.
It looks like they're actually working on a PlayStation 2 emulator core called Play.
I've never heard of this. Have you heard of this?
No, this is the first time.
Cool.
In fact, it's kind of weird because Play is a Java framework I use at work.
Oh.
I'm not the biggest fan of it. So it's like Play, and I see that, and it's like, But it's, I don't know. This is pretty interesting. Now, is there not already a PlayStation 2 core out there, or one that's in development?
No. Now, they do have a PCSX2 core bounty, and they are, willing to pay a reward for somebody who gets a PCX2 core ported for working on RetroArch, or God, I'm saying it now, RetroArch. But no, this has been something people have been asking for years. People have been begging for a PS2 core for RetroArch. So from what I understand, I don't think Play is super fleshed out by any means, but it is entirely possible to have PS2 games running here soon on RetroArch.
Yeah, and I found a link to the Play downloads for, I guess, what's available right now.
Okay.
It's purei.org.
Let me check this out.
Or maybe it's supposed to be puree, and spelled slightly weird. But you can get downloads for this, even for iOS, Windows, macOS, Android, iOS. So I'm guessing it's just, a fully compiled, binary or whatever.
Okay.
And it's really just about getting this ported to a RetroArch core.
Very cool.
So I suppose you can probably go check it out now if you'd like, just not through RetroArch.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's been out there for a hot minute from what I can see.
I've never heard of it myself.
Being ported over. Same here. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's really cool. So it sounds like the developers are already kind of like in agreement of doing this, and it's kind of underway. And if you want to help fund it, go give LibRetro some of your monies. Yeah. Cool stuff's going to happen with it.
They'll take it. They'll take it and turn it into cool things.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Was there any like rewards for that Patreon? I don't think so.
It's still the same thing. No, it's just the LibRetro Patreon.
Yep. So it's all the same kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I know New Age Soldier here is chiming in and saying, Play is a multi-platform emulator, but it's not anywhere near PCSX2. PCSX2 has daily commits. Play has maybe monthly. And that's about what I expected, especially when I just saw the site. I was like, oh, last update 2018. Well, last post 2018. Post before that 2017. So
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
All right. Now,
we're
not really done with RetroArch news.
No, we are not.
In fact, we've been like in the news a lot, like over the last few months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy,
and
to
all
see
positive stuff. Thankfully.
Yeah, it's crazy to see other development has been going, and all the cool stuff we're getting out of it. And for this, maybe you can explain this a little bit better. I've looked into this a little bit, but this is I don't know.
Sure.
Interesting. I guess it's more optimizations for the Vita. Is that what this is?
This is very short and sweet. Yeah. So I'm kind of putting this out here. Not only as it's not really news, but I kind of just awareness. Look, if you think that you might be able to do this, you can get some money in the process. All right. I just want to kind of blast this out there a bit. So there is a feature request which is open for a GXM driver for hardware acceleration on the Vita. And they're saying here that the Vita uses software rendering when it comes to RetroArch. However, it's preventing cores from using their full potential, and it's saying here, of course, 3D emulation, but hardware acceleration could also do wonders for the 2D display. So this would essentially allow, if this bounty is successfully completed, proper hardware utilization of the Vita as opposed to using only software rendering. And when I added this, it was only $100. Well, not only. Okay, it was $100 bounty. At this point, the reason why I say only is because it's over doubled now. So $225 and counting.
Wow.
So if you want to support this, you can throw some money here. If you think you can do this and you want to get some money and help out the Vita scene at the same time, hey, look, free money right there.
That is very cool. I mean, it'll be even cooler once this gets completed.
Hell yeah.
But yeah,
this is pretty much people have said this is what is holding RetroArch on the Vita back.
That's a decent little chunk of change.
That's why I kind of just want to put it out there.
I wouldn't mind a couple $100 for some software development.
Yeah.
If only I could actually write drivers. That is not my forte, but
it's not mine either. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have one last thing in the world of emulation, which we had actually talked about a little bit before.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how much you want to dive into this.
We can still at least talk about it here.
Sure.
But one thing that many people were asking us about, and even in the chat here, a few people were, the Raspberry Pi 4 was announced.
Yeah, I did not see this coming.
Actually released, right? It is out there.
I believe so.
What I know.
I saw some reviews of it, some comparisons and stuff like that. So it's already in people's hands one way or another.
This thing looks like a monstrosity in a good way.
Yeah, it's definitely got it's got some nice upgrades to it.
Yes. The reason why we're chucking this in here is because it's not the Raspberry Pi 4. It is a computer. It is not only a emulation machine. That's not the only thing it can do. But obviously here, in the context of ModChat and all the channel here, that's what people are going to want to be looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they want to throw their, the RetroPie setup on there and everything. So, of course, this is the typical, it's about as big as a credit card. And it starts at $35. That's actually new. It starts there.
No,
and
that's where it. Oh, you mean just
this time around?
It goes up.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So it goes for anywhere from $35 to $55.
Right.
And that really just goes with the choice of RAM. So the 1 gigabyte of RAM is the cheapest. The 4 gigabyte is the most expensive. But even just taking a look at this, you got. I think the previous model, the 3B Plus, had gigabit Ethernet.
It did not.
I thought it. No, the 3B Plus, I thought it had gigabit Ethernet, but the CPU was holding it back, so you weren't actually using gigabit.
That does sound familiar, but for some reason I thought this is...
Because I remember some people were kind of bashing on it a little bit, saying like, well, the gigabit is kind of useless if it's chucked in there with the other specs. But this one actually has USB 3.0 now at this point. They did downgrade to micro USB ports. However, they can go up to 4K, and you can do 2 4K displays. So I can totally see why they did that. They went USB Type-C for the power supply, so no longer fumbling with micro USB, and of course a more powerful processor.
So just a quick Google search also to show, from what I'm seeing, it had 330 megabits per second as the limit on the gigabit Ethernet, or on the Ethernet for the 3B Plus.
Okay.
So from what I was reading, people were pretty stoked on this actually having gigabit Ethernet. I don't know where that confusion came from, because I feel like maybe we were both confused.
This sounds familiar, right?
Yeah,
like a previous model did have gigabit Ethernet. It just wasn't being fully utilized because of the rest of the specs.
Yeah, I'm not... I don't know, but I'm seeing
this
back and forth information on this, so I'm not sure. You might be right.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, it has gigabit Ethernet. That's good. And one thing that I was super stoked about was the video output upgrades that they have. So you're not getting HDMI, like a full HDMI port anymore, but you are getting two mini or micro HDMIs.
Two micro HDMI ports. Yeah, so
you can power two 4K displays.
Yes, right here.
Which is really silly for like a Raspberry Pi.
I know, but I love it, and it's still $35.
Yeah.
Even though it's technically the most expensive one is $55, it's still the $35 computer. And I love that they're sticking to that.
Yeah, people. I mean, they're getting old and long in the tooth at this point, but people probably still use 2 gig or laptops with 2 gigs of RAM, right? So like, it's really not that obscene. But yeah, it looks like a really nice upgrade. I just don't have that much of a use for it right now.
I understand.
Now, one thing to note is that it looks very similar, the board does, but not only are the video outputs a little different, but the rest of the ports are actually like the USB and the gigabit Ethernet port is on the other side, I believe. I think they swapped them essentially. So like there's two USBs on the left here, and before they were on the right. So cases definitely will not fit.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, no, it's looking to be about the same. To me, at least. Of course, I'm sure people need, different form factor cases and all that, but oh, I see what you're talking about. Okay, I see what you're moving. They flipped around Ethernet and USB. Okay,
right.
Gotcha. Cool.
So instead of like the Ethernet being on the right, the Ethernet was on the left. Mm-hmm. So even if like you ignored the video output, you probably won't be able to weasel this into a case without taking a Dremel to it. Yeah.
Which, I mean, people would be willing to do. People can just 3D print their cases as well, too. But, it looks like $35, $45, $55 for the 1, 2, and 4 gig models, respectively. Yeah. I would just go after the 4 gig whenever I decide to get one.
Yeah, probably. 55 is still not much to spend.
No, not at all.
But I'm pretty stoked about this upgrade. A lot of the other stuff, like the GPIO pins, are like in the same spot. So I think like the camera attachment or camera pins or whatever, a lot of this onboard stuff are like in the same form factor. So I think compatibility is still going to be there for like a lot of your modules and stuff like that. The screens they make specifically for this.
Yeah, I know. Dentron here was saying my only complaint about it is those micro HDMI ports. Micro ports break easy. I can totally see that. However, I do believe I see why they went this route. Mm-hmm. They still want to stick to the same form factor. And this way they can do 2 different displays and they'll have the actual space for it. So that probably just made the most sense as opposed to trying to stick on another HDMI port or even going mini HDMI.
Yeah. But it also does make me want to, I want to see a beefier Raspberry Pi.
Yeah. And I think people have been wanting that for a while. It's just from what I see what what the company is doing who produces Raspberry Pis. They still want to stick to their $35 thing. So for the little like stick of gum type ones, like the Raspberry Pi Zeros, they only want those to be $5. That's it. And the actual Raspberry Pi, they want those to stick to $35. Here they're going out their comfort range a little bit, like with the $45, $55 options. But at the end, I mean, at its core, it's still a $35 computer. That's what they want to stick to. I understand. And they probably just couldn't do it with the proper specs they wanted until now for that price point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely think that they should keep the 2 tiers they have now, but I think it'd be really interesting to see what they could do, even with like I've seen people do this already, but like something a little bit beefier and then like something you could put into a laptop form factor really easy.
That'd be cool.
And then you could if they kept they've kept the same size, right? If they made it so it was easy to upgrade to the next Raspberry Pi or whatever, whatever this higher tier one would be, I think that would be kind of neat. So you could keep the same shell if you wanted to and just swap the board out.
Yeah. Real cool.
Do it. So yeah, I'm hyped, but it doesn't sound like either of us are going to be getting one right now.
Not immediately, no.
Should we move on?
Absolutely, we should. I was going to ask, could you do me a favor and take this? I need to go to the bathroom so bad.
Sure.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I got this.
Cool.
I got this.
Thank you.
So...
Okay, I'm going. I'll make it quick, I promise.
So, someone we've talked about on the show a number of times, Cyrus M, big member of the Switch hacking community. On the Atmosphere NX GitHub, they released Atmosphere 0.9.1. So we've seen a number of Atmosphere releases over the last few months, but this one was particularly useful. So it looks like it actually supports the 8.1.0 firmware that was released not that long ago, which is nice and kind of an expected update. But it also supports an experimental version of what is being called emuMCC. And that's basically this generation's emuNAND. So if you remember emuNAND from the 3DS, you basically had a copy of your internal NAND, and you were able to run your custom firmware on top of that instead. So you'd reroute the operating system you'd boot to, and you could run off that. The Switch has a form of this with the SX dongle, so you can actually get emuNAND working on there, and there's actually a couple different ways that you can configure that, which is cool. So this is a little bit of catch up to that, but I'm glad we have an open source option. We talked maybe last month, Mr. Mario and I, and he was kind of going back and forth between his different custom firmwares because he liked using emuNAND but didn't want to stick with SX. So this is really nice. I think it's really cool to see this out. And yeah, do you have any thoughts on emuMCC?
Fantastic that this is now out for something aside from SXOS. Yeah, because this is just Atmosphere right now, right? For this implementation of it, it's not on. Cosmos is just Atmosphere packaged with a whole lot of stuff, and then what was the other thing? RetroArch does not have that. RetroArch has Delta Launch, but that's their exclusive thing. But yeah.
Now I didn't get to like how it's actually implemented. I haven't seen that necessarily. So, do you know if they have kind of the flexibility of making it like a partition on the SD card or a file, kind of like SX, or how it differs?
So that I do not know, and I don't really want to talk out of my ass on there. Here's the assuming thing. Actually, support. Okay. Support is included for redirecting NAND to a partition on the SD card. This can be done by setting this setting here to the start sector of your partition. Supports also include for redirecting NAND to a collection of loose files on the SD card. All right. And okay, so it looks like this is nice then. You could either partition your SD card or you can just have it be a set of files on your SD card. Very cool.
Nice. Yeah, especially once this gets out of kind of the experimental phase, I would love to look into this because I hadn't really been using SXOS. You definitely were using it more, like we had mentioned in previous episodes.
Now I'm not really using it. The only time I really use it is like to dump, a new cartridge-based game that I get. But now, even with this isn't running on Atmosphere.
Right.
Like Atmosphere is fantastic. So.
Yeah. So I'm really excited for that to kind of develop, and I'll be upgrading my Switch to use that as time goes on.
Yeah.
Now we've got some more Switch-related news. It's definitely not slowing down there.
No, not at all. I was going to say, just the last thing I wanted to say on here, because there was 3 methods I was thinking of. So it looks like as SXOS, it does have emuNAND, of course, but it does have the same support for either just a raw set of files or a partition. And their thing, which we had talked about before, like a while ago, was you could also do emuNAND on your actual NAND. So you split the NAND itself, which nobody was really recommending to do that. I am glad that is not an option with this.
Yeah, I don't see why.
I'm glad that's not an option. Just keep it to the SD card, please. Thank you.
Absolutely. I agree. Well said.
Yes.
So now we've got some news.
Some big news here, actually.
It looks like Caffeine, which I had not heard of until this, shows how out of date I am with some of this stuff, was updated to support firmware on 4.1.0 on patched switches. So this is pretty neat. We've seen it demoed with Deja Vu and with PegaScape, which I guess PegaScape came out today?
It did, today.
So there's a lot going on.
Today, yes.
I saw someone in the chat posting about that, and I didn't want to say anything just yet.
Didn't want to spoil it yet.
Right.
We already had the Raspberry Pi 4 spoiled a little bit. I mean, thank you for the donation on that, David, but we had to spoil a little bit, so we didn't want to do 2 spoilers on here.
Right. But this is pretty awesome. I've been a little out of the loop on a lot of the Deja Vu stuff. We talked about it a little bit here, but I don't know if this is something you can speak to.
From what I know on this, this is a warm boot exploit, so you don't have, the same cold boot compatibility like you do on the Switch right now, like the non-patch switches where you're just able to cold boot out of RCM, load up your payload and such. So they needed some type of other exploit, and this is kind of what was talked about and hinted at by several developers, such as like Mike Heskin and I think Cyrus M and a few others. But this has been in the works for a while now, and I guess the most exciting thing with this is that now, if you have a patch switch and it is on firmware 4.1 or lower, but 4.1 seems to be the recommended firmware for this, you can now actually run Homebrew, run unsigned code, run RCM payloads for the first time.
Yeah, and then with the new Atmosphere stuff, potentially start experimenting around with emuMCC.
Yes.
Which you could then upgrade your Switch.
And that is what they absolutely recommend. They're just like, hey, people are saying, if you have a Switch on 4.1.0 and it is the IPATCHED Switch, we recommend you do this. You run Hecate, back up your NAND immediately, then immediately create a emuMCC, that's what it is. Like emuNAND, that's what I'm calling it, right? And then you run everything off there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Now, you made a pretty big disclaimer in our show notes here, and I think we should definitely mention it.
Sure.
Auto RCM does not work with this.
Does not work.
And do not do it.
Yeah, and it's saying here, do not enable auto RCM under any circumstance on a patch console. You will brick if you do so.
Right.
So that is where the warm boot thing comes in as well, too. You
right.
really can't do that.
The reason for that is that the patched units basically patched the exploit that would be used after auto RCM was enabled. So you go into auto RCM,
or just even RCM in general.
Well, yeah, RCM, right? RCM.
Yeah, because that's the big thing, that the patch switches, they still have RCM.
Right. But you just can't do anything with it.
Exactly.
That's Nintendo's tool. They have the software to do it. Previously, what you use with like a jig and whatnot is you're going to be exploiting RCM. Can't do that. So you're stuck in this recovery mode that you can't get out of.
Exactly. And yeah, even on this, so I was showing this video here that was posted up, and even in short, they ended up loading this up here. They're able to launch the exploit to get into PegaSwitch.
Or PegaScape.
PegaScape, and then from there, they end up loading this up, and it reboots them into their custom firmware.
Right.
Yeah, or reboots them into a payload that they choose, is what I should accurately say. And then from there, from the payload, you end up booting into whatever custom firmware you would like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is
I already
almost
showed this here, but
it takes a little bit, but this is almost nicer than using a jig.
It is, yeah, because you don't need a jig for this at all.
You just boot it
You
up.
don't need to hard mod. Yeah, very cool.
Right
now we do have the official PegaScape right here. So this is even talking about further what this is for. So you can do it on switches anywhere from 1.0.0 to 3.0.0, and here it's saying or 4.0.1 to 4.1.0. So I'd recommend just getting it onto 4.1.0 if you can. And here it's saying, yeah, you can also install the fake news entry point to make accessing PegaScape easier and access the homebrew menu without running full custom firmware if you prefer.
Right. But I guess technically 1.0 is the most supported, right? So past 1.0, you can't do the fake news installer. You can't do the reboot to.
That is true. Yeah, you have this kind of sweet spot right here. So it's essentially, it looks like, the homebrew loader, you can load up on all of them, but it looks like with, 2.0 to 3.0, well, 2.0 to 4.1, those are the ones where you can do both the homebrew loader and Caffeine on there, but you're not going to be able to do, all the stuff like Neriba. I don't even know what that is.
I just looked that up. I hadn't heard about it, but it's basically it's a exploit to reboot to a fused jelly payload from a stock firmware.
Oh, okay. And 1.0.0 has the most hacks on there, so that makes sense. All right, cool. Very cool. Yeah, and big thing as well too. I don't think there's any like big tutorials on this yet, at least like video tutorials, but yeah, they do also talk about, not running auto RCM on here, and they also mention avoid using these applications on any iPatch systems, which would be MemLoader, Choy de Jour, NX, of course, safe on a emuMCC, anything involving our auto RCM, as we had talked about, and anything which writes to sysnan without proper security or verification in place. So you really have to kind of hold your breath when doing some of this. I feel like this is almost kind of comparable to the original switches are like, a hard modded original Xbox, and then the iPatch switches which are running this are like a soft modded system where you can do almost everything you can on a hard modded system, but there are things that if you try and do everything, you can brick your system inoperable if you don't take the proper precautions.
And to go back just a little bit, I wasn't looking at the chart correctly. Caffeine, which is the thing that allows you to run the custom firmware, isn't supported on 1.0, right? So
1.0 has a few other things, but really it seems like, you're going to be best on one of the later firmwares for actual usage. That's big. That's the first time publicly any iPatch switches are running something properly.
And there are guides out there. We were on PegaScape.sdsetup.com, and sdsetup.com is like the official Atmosphere Atlas kind of setup guide website. So this is all legit stuff, and there's a lot of good documentation on it.
Hell yeah!
Very cool. Good stuff happening.
Very cool. Yes. So we finally have movement on those iPatch switches. So if you got an early iPatch switch, and one of the first ones that had firmware 4.0 or 4.1 on there, and you did not update it, you did yourself a good job.
Yeah.
Get to some modding.
Held out.
Damn it! Get to some modding now.
It's a good time to do it.
It is.
Now, speaking of Switch modding.
Speaking of it,
we heard about something dealing with kind of getting Android to run on a Switch a couple of months ago. I think that was around the time we also talked about Windows 10 or something.
Yeah, there was a Windows 10 IoT that was ported over. Because that's the ARM build.
Right.
ARM-based build.
Looks like the Android side of things is closer than ever. I don't think we have a build out yet. As far as you know, you have
not a public one, no.
Right. But XDA, which is actually well known, I'm sure you're familiar with them, XDA-Developers.com. They're a forum that actually mainly hosts a lot of tutorials and downloads for hacking your Android devices. So unlocking bootloaders, rooting them, installing custom ROMs. I was very active on there.
If you have ever, I'm not talking just to you, I'm going to talk to the audience here. If you have ever attempted to modify your Android device, you have without a doubt been onto this website.
Yep. So they've actually opened up a sub-forum for Switch.
Yes.
It's pretty funny.
I was not expecting that, but I'm really happy to see that.
Right. No, it's going to be interesting. I don't know what exactly is going to be there, because this, it's like, what kind of content is there? I guess custom builds of Android. People could as long as we have the compiling, we could get custom builds of Android. So there could be all kinds of different custom ROMs and stuff like that. It could show up, different kernels potentially. It's going to be interesting to see how that evolves. Yeah. But it looks pretty cool.
It does.
And while the Switch is lacking a few things that modern tablets have, like a GPS and whatnot, it seemed, probably going to be a really nice tablet.
Yeah. This is kind of going to, if you're willing to modify your Switch, which I'm sure most people listening here are, this is going to satisfy the urge that some people have had, because one of my best friends, he straight up said he was disappointed the Switch wasn't launching. It still doesn't have one officially, but it didn't launch with the internet browser or anything, because he was telling me I want this system to play games on it, but I was also thinking, since it's a mobile tablet, that's literally what it is hardware-wise, since it's a mobile tablet, instead of me buying a new tablet to replace my old one, which I love and bricked, I'll just get a Switch so I can watch YouTube. I can browse the internet on that as well too. I can keep it on the side and run media of some kind while I'm cooking.
Well, and on top of that, it's actually running the same hardware that an Android tablet has ran in the past.
Yes.
The Tegra. So it's not even that foreign of a thing all around. But yeah, so we don't have it out in the public, but XDA did get their hands on the build and actually has done a write-up. And I think
they did. This gentleman, Adam Conway, right here, is the one who did this. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really neat, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that you can do with it. He talked about how emulators were working good. They tested a Nintendo DS emulator, so that would be kind of neat.
Yep.
YouTube works well.
This
from what I
looks
was
like
seeing.
such a nicely fleshed out build so far.
And it wasn't
Just
even
from,
like
I gave this article a good read, and
right, and it wasn't
Yeah.
even like YouTube works, kinda. It's slow. There's frame rate issues.
No.
No, it's just like it works. Spotify, it works. Twitch, it works.
yeah. From what I see, I did take some notes on this, and even with this, it has full support for all apps from the Google Play Store, which is cool. Media apps, as Devin was mentioning, like Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, seem to work so far. You can utilize as much storage as you want to throw an SD card at it. So if you got a 400 gigabyte micro SD card, you got access to that. He was saying, and this seems to be more from optimization standpoint, PUBG Mobile does work, but it has some hiccups. Fortnite does not work.
Mm-hmm. Which
So-
is okay because you can get Fortnite.
On the Switch.
Right.
Yeah, on the Switch itself. Joy-Cons cannot be fully utilized. They are wireless Bluetooth devices, even when they are hooked up to the system itself. So
Right. And we saw that with Ubuntu on the Switch as well.
Yep. But yeah, then even as you said though, like Drastic seems to work flawlessly. RetroArch is working well, but as you also mentioned, anything such as like Pokemon Go is not going to work because you don't have GPS. Anything that requires a mic, that's not going to work well. And there's no camera on the Switch, so nothing that involves your camera is going to work properly.
Something that is nice is that even though the Switch does not, at least currently, support a Bluetooth headset, it has the hardware to do so. So you can attach a Bluetooth headset. It's a not as good quality like codec. What is it? I think it was just A2DP. So not one of the nicer codecs, so you're not going to get quite the fidelity out of it. This isn't going to be a premium like media device in that department. But for what it is, this opens up a lot of doors.
Yeah. Makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was such a... I mean, we're just barely scratching the surface on here, and those are just my rough notes on it. But this is just... It was such a great article. I really enjoyed reading this.
Right.
Yeah, and they are saying here that, this ETA win, there's no ETA. But they are saying you should check out these forums, which let's check out these forums. Come on, let's check
taken a
this
look
out.
yet.
Yeah.
And they did mention
Switch root Android port.
there's going to be an
test
easy
public
installer to
ETA.
set up your SD card, which I think is interesting, which is at the moment booted via Hecate. So it's probably going to be this is probably going to be something that is going to be a little more user friendly than your average custom firmware, perhaps. You know what I mean? Trying to really like market itself as a complete package.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. But yeah, it does use Hecate. It's using standard stuff that we already know. So
anybody here listening who's familiar with Switch modding and all that stuff, you're already going to have a leg up when you go to XDA, thankfully, and this is out.
Right. And then for the people that, don't care too much about the hacking scene and want to just get this up and running, and they have a non-patch Switch, ideally, it should be pretty easy when it comes out.
Yeah. Very cool.
Man, if only I could get that hand on that build. In fact, that's what Tristan was thinking as well, because he donated $2 and said,
thank you very much for that.
Yes,
Tristan.
thank you. He said, I need that Android build to drop. I need it.
I want to play around with it when it releases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tristan, if it drops and you start playing with it right away, let us know, because I would love to hear some feedback on that if I don't get to it before you guys do.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you so much for the $2. Appreciate it.
Big thank you.
Tristan,
as always.
That's like Tristan's traditional $2.
Yeah, no, he likes to do the $2 donation.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
It's very it's very appreciated every time.
Yeah.
It does not go unnoticed.
Yeah.
So is that all?
That's all.
Is that all Switch news?
That's all the Switch news. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That's
Some good stuff going on this month for Switch.
I guess the PS4 had some good news.
It did.
It's definitely catching up. But Switch is always so filled.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take it back a few years.
Just a few?
Yeah. We're going back to one of your favorite consoles.
One of my favorite consoles.
If not your favorite console of all time.
It's not my favorite console of all time, but it's one of my favorite consoles.
No? PlayStation 1 is
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
The system brings me pure joy.
Right. So this is pretty interesting. I think you kind of mentioned you wanted me to fill out the details a bit, and I think I can speak to some stuff.
All right,
but this is, it's pretty interesting. So basically, a project called the PS Noob SDK came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is I think this is one of the first, maybe? I don't know. I haven't kept up on this scene much at all in terms of the SDK support or anything like that. But this is basically an open source SDK, 100% free and open source. So you're not going to have any legal issues compiling this stuff, as opposed to like obtaining an official, Sony SDK.
Yeah, you don't have to track down NetYarose either. And I don't know about any other. Maybe the chat, if you all know of any other homebrew SDKs that have come out for the PS1 that have been successful, let us know. But yeah, this one is, it was cool for me that they said, yeah, this can be for freeware or commercial use.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So very lenient with the kind of licensing and permissions and whatnot. And what was interesting is that this actually tries to essentially emulate the official SDK as much as possible. So perhaps if there are people out there that have been using the official PlayStation SDK, not wanting to get off that for whatever reason, whether they like the feature set, like the syntax, like the way that the libraries are constructed and how they're used, this may make the transition a little bit easier. And of course, you don't have to worry about the legality of distributing something with copywritten files.
Yeah.
Or built with copywritten files, because you do get in a very gray area with that whole thing.
Yeah.
So I can't really get into like actually using this SDK. This is not something I've set up. I haven't worked on Homebrew in a long, long time. And so it's kind of out of my element at the moment. But I think it's cool, and I think it's really neat that they're going through the effort to make it work as close as they can to the official SDK.
Yeah. I mean, it has libraries and everything with it as well, too. So there's a lot that is available with this, thankfully.
It says, as of version 0.10b, extensive GPU support with Polygon primitives, high-speed DMA, VRAM transfers, and DMA ordering table processing. Lots of other details, extensive GTE support, stable and easy-to-use interrupt service routine with callback system of simplified handling of hardware, and all kinds of stuff. Serial I/O support, BIOS controller functions. I mean, this thing sounds just stacked with features.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, this wouldn't be something I would mess with because I'm really not a developer, but it sounds like this is truly packed with pretty much everything you need to get started, except for the compiler that has to be obtained separately, but it's also a freely available compiler. So
right, and they've got the link to like the toolchain that they suggest.
Yes.
Here, especially for Windows. So, and this does support Windows.
They do say it needs work. The
Right.
Windows build needs work.
It sounds like the Linux and Unix systems are more of what gets, the primary support here.
Sure.
So you're probably going to be able to get this on, any Linux distribution, probably Mac OS as well. And if you really want to, Windows. So
yeah. Just remember, needs work.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of Windows developers out there. It surprises me still when I see people like developing on Windows that, not for like .NET stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I've been outside of the Windows world for a long time. I'm probably still in the minority.
I understand.
But we're growing.
There are dozens of us. No, there's a lot more.
Right. Between Mac OS users and Linux users now, it's still slowly, steadily growing.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that's awesome. I hope we see some cool stuff out of it. I just wish that I was, more up to date on Homebrew to actually play around with something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, these days I'm on the complete opposite of the spectrum, doing like web development.
I understand. Hey, I mean, you're hacking up things your own way.
Yeah, it's fun. I've been having a great time.
Yeah, and you're getting paid for it, so.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is definitely a plus compared to when I was, 14 years old, getting into some of this stuff.
But when you're 14 getting into some of the stuff, that built the foundation for where you're at now.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. We've had long talks about this on ModChat and off ModChat.
Yeah, long time.
Long time.
But yeah, PlayStation 1 getting some updates. It's
Yeah.
always crazy to see some stuff like this.
I'm happy to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you have any interest in like if a lot of new homebrew comes out for the PlayStation 1, are you going to dive in?
I would absolutely like to. Yeah, I did see. I keep forgetting to check this out. I know Paradox had done a few, like the release group Paradox. They did a few demos and such back in the day. Not like playable, but just a demonstration of what the PS1 can do. I watched them. They were cool, but I've only seen each of them once. I do want to revisit those. And then the NetYarose project. Are you familiar with that at all?
Mm-mm. So
it was essentially you could purchase this through Sony, and it was a way of it was essentially a legal way of developing homebrew officially through Sony, where the games didn't like officially come out, but you would be supplied a developer system, and it was a black system with a black controller called a Net Eurose Edition system. Came with a bunch of books, came with software, came with licenses you needed. You can code up your games and all that stuff, and I think they were released. The games weren't ever officially released, like in stores, but a lot of them were packed into like PlayStation demo discs and such. But it was Sony's official way of getting people to code, like make their own homebrew games with the official Sony hardware licenses and all that stuff. I do remember, I remember I was shocked at I want to say it was like well over $500 at the time. This is in the 90s, but then again, that's also a lot cheaper than, you know, getting officially licensed and everything for, you know, like if you're someone like EA or someone else. So
Right.
It was cool. It was pretty, those systems, excuse me, are pretty valuable now because it wasn't a super popular program. So there's not really many that exist out there that people had purchased.
It's a very different landscape. I mean, I don't know the exact, you know, path to get working on indie games on Nintendo Switch or something like that, or even any of these, you know, modern generation consoles. But I feel like it's just such a different world than it used to be.
Yeah,
So much more accessible,
it is.
which is good.
And speaking of accessibility, we do have some that we can talk about, which is kind of related to things getting more accessible.
Yeah, I'll give you. I'll give you that.
Okay,
segue.
thank you. This is we have you or me.
You you can go for it.
Okay,
Start it
cool,
off. I'll follow you up.
Thanks, appreciate it. So we actually have some nothing big, nothing like huge,
I just
mind
think
you.
it's kind of hilarious.
All right. But we have something Xbox One hacks related we can talk about. Big disclaimer: this is in dev mode.
Yeah.
No, because I have to say this stuff. All right.
Yes.
I have to say this stuff.
I mean, we've seen a few things where we've like been able to install some homebrew through
Yeah.
dev mode, right?
Which I still need to do. Before I moved, I packed up my Xbox One, my original one, a few months ago, and it's still just sitting in its box like a year and a half later. So, yeah, I don't use that thing.
It happens.
It happens. Anyways, so this is for the Xbox One, and again, dev mode, not retail side. This is dev mode. But this is posted up on DigiX, I believe, and this is a Xbox One dev mode privilege escalation exploit called Super Fun. This is pretty easy to go through here, but this is a privilege escalation exploit for the Xbox One consoles running in dev mode, published by XVMM. At the moment, this allows you to use the XRF tool to dump the contents of your Xbox One's NAND. The README of this privilege escalation is as follows. You need a USB drive, and you need the Xbox unattend script. So you take the superfun.xbox unattend or any Xbox unattend script of your choice and put it onto a flash drive, plug it into your system, of course, once you're in dev mode. After you place the USB drive in your Xbox One console, connect to it over SSH, navigate to where you extracted the utilities, and you can launch the script from there. And then the script provided will start a fun little telnet session.
Right. So does I was trying to fill in some gaps here. Does the
Sure.
Xbox unattend script actually let you? Is that what allows you to do the SSH session?
That I don't know, because I personally haven't taken a full look at the script here.
Right. So like, I doubt you can navigate over to it
Well,
through
no.
SSH by default, right?
No. This is... No, you would have SSH available is what... No, that you would have SSH available, and then the script allows you to open up Telnet.
Okay, right. Oh, so superfun.xbox unattended. Okay, I was getting a little confused.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was
So
looking
no,
at that.
you have SSH available if you're doing
I guess,
this already.
yeah, if you're in dev mode, probably. I doubt it's available for every user. So that's what it is. So yeah. I mean, that's pretty interesting. So it's basically, like you said, it's a read-only exploit for the NAND, right? You can't really do anything with it, but you can dump it. And we've seen many times over, dumping the NAND is often the first step in kind of progressing this whole thing.
And this is actually not the first time that NAND dumps have happened. Actually, like shortly after the Xbox One launch, Team Executor did confirm they were able to dump the NAND. They even they released instructions on how to do it yourself, and they released some tools, and they even made a little PCB. I don't think they ever released it to the public, but they showed a PCB where you could do that. And the PS, this is always the first step into anything. And it's cool that you can dump the NAND or dump the NOR off of a piece of hardware, but that doesn't automatically mean, hey, we've dumped NAND, so now we can exploit the system fully. A NAND dump is a NAND dump, and I'm really not. I don't want to I don't want to downplay it or put any negativity on it. I'm just stating the fact there that dumping the NAND is dumping the NAND.
Yeah.
Dumping the NAND does not equate to exploit.
There's a lot to dig through. There's a lot to look at, but you're right. That doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be something to do with it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a while. It could be never. Still, we could still be in the same boat. Like, you know what I mean? Having NAND dumps and basic level homebrew on dead consoles.
I'll put it like this: the Xbox One's NAND was initially dumped, like homebrew wise, it was dumped in like 2013.
Okay.
Maybe even 2014. We're in 2019 right now.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Wow.
But that's at least something that so like it just slid across me. I was like, okay, cool. I'll toss it in here.
Definitely. So, take it you're not going to be dumping your NAND anytime soon?
Not anytime soon. No.
Are you in dev mode at all, or are you still?
No.
Okay.
My system is still stock retail and everything. I literally packed it up, put it in the box, boxed up.
Yeah.
I think it still even has the tape over it too.
That's sad. I thought you undid or unpacked all your boxes. You said.
I mean, the ones that matter, I guess. Like to credit, I do have a 1X that is hooked up in my
Sure.
like my basement area, and I use that. I guess entertainment area. I mostly use it just for watching movies and TV shows, admittedly, because I don't have an Android box there or anything. I guess I don't always want to sit here use my phone. This is just getting into a rant. I don't want to sit here use my phone all the time for Chromecast, and then I mostly use Plex, and the PS4's Plex app is a piece of shit. It is so bad.
That's
Last
sad.
night I was shocked that I was able to watch stuff for like 30 minutes without it crashing.
That's
once.
sad.
Yeah, media playback on PS4 just isn't as good. It's better on Xbox One, but Xbox One's Plex Direct Play is broken because you can't really do Direct Play. So that's why I'm having my own fault, but I have just all these Plex issues there.
You need another PC, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
Specifically for media.
Yeah, probably should do that, but I don't. Just because console's tiny and it sits there. So
right, and then even if like you get a good thing set up, I feel like I need to have like a keyboard and mouse on deck just in case I actually need to, you know what I mean, manhandle my PC a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
Like you can get it set up with like probably a controller and some interface. You know what I mean? Whether it was like Kodi or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure you could like set it up with Kodi, and then you could get a Plex plugin for Kodi.
Yes.
And then go that route.
Because I've done that on a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
So, cool.
Well, we'll see if you ever get around to it.
We'll see.
But it's something.
If I ever do get around to it, I do want to mess around with the emulators and everything. Just the thing is, I would do it like upstairs, like in my office, and then the problem is then because it's the original Xbox One, the thing is like this. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's like this big. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
It's a big boy.
Oh. Well, it's been a long stream and a long day. Let's get going. We got one more topic to go through.
We do.
And I'm getting sleepy.
I am too.
Yeah.
I am too. I drank my coffee at the right time. I was able to get energized enough for this podcast. And I'm like, you know what?
I did not have my pre-show coffee.
I have to time it properly. That's my thing. Yeah. But yeah.
Anyways, this one was really cool. I'm super stoked to hear about this. Square Enix is putting a lot of effort, it sounds like, for game preservation.
Yeah, and this is not directly modding related, but we've talked about preservation, things like that on here, and I want to bring this up as well, too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Game of Sutra.
And even not only just, I guess, preservation, but trying to make their titles available as the years go on, right?
Yeah. Because I think they're realizing, too, it's like, actually, we have all these IPs and all these old games that we're not really doing anything with, like I don't know, Final Fantasy VIII, for example. It's like, the game is done. Like, the game's been done for years. But if we can just port it, which is going to take significantly less time and significantly less resources, people will rebuy it.
Yeah, and I think that it's not even like in the cash grab territory, right? It's not like they're just like repumping out this stuff. Like, people want this stuff.
People have been dying for a while, it seems like.
I think it's awesome that you have a bunch.
Not just Final Fantasy VIII, but
but I think it's awesome that you have a bunch of these games that are on Android, they're on Switch, they're on all these different consoles that you can go buy. They're on the PC. You can like pick your console of choice and go play these games again. The only thing better than that would be some service where you could like share them across consoles, which that's probably never going to happen, at least not anytime soon. As they keep releasing these, I'm sure they're going to continue to like provide them on every platform they can.
Sure.
Now, one thing that was interesting, which we've heard of this before. Mm-hmm. They don't have all of the source code.
Yeah, that's happened a lot, a lot more often than it probably should, and it's kind of terrifying. But a lot of developers just didn't give a shit about source control. Once the game is done, it's done. Why do we need this source code? Let's just overwrite these tapes with other source codes of games we're working on currently.
Right. And stuff was a lot different back then. Like storage was more of a premium. And just like the mechanisms. Like now we've got like Git that hosts everything in the cloud and is replicated, and it's like, almost more difficult to lose some of that, because even just developing the process of development, backing up your code is useful and whatnot. So Matsuda even has a quote here that says, "I'm embarrassed to admit it, but some cases we just don't know where the code is anymore." It's very hard to find them sometimes, because back in the day you just made them and put them out there and you were done. You didn't think of how you were going to sell them down the road.
Kind of just exactly what I said.
Right. So sometimes customers ask, why haven't you released that game yet? And the truth of the matter is, it's because we don't know where it has gone.
Well, apparently that's even why I brought up Final Fantasy VIII, because that was actually a very real issue with Final Fantasy VIII. The reason why we had Final Fantasy, 6 released so many times, 7, 9, 10, 10-2, 11's online, but 12, 13. The reason why all those games were getting re-released, and people were then asking for 8, because it's like, you all just skipped over 8. What's going on here? Like, what's happening? Mm-hmm. And the word was they didn't know where the source code was. They did not have the final source code.
Right. But I guess they eventually found it, because 8's out now, isn't it?
It got announced.
It got announced?
Okay. Yes. So
I don't play all the Final Fantasy games. I would love to play 10 on the Switch, though. It's kind of going to be one of my next games I get into.
Mm-hmm. I know Dentron is also saying here, Kingdom Hearts HD had to be reverse engineered from a game disc to be ported. That is what some of these companies have to do, and I have heard that story about Kingdom Hearts HD. I have played Kingdom Hearts HD on the PS3 and PS4, and it is beyond impressive they were able to reverse engineer that game and get it ported over.
That
so
really cool.
Big props to the teams who worked on that. Because sometimes you might run into stuff like, have you heard of like the horrible Silent Hill 2 port? Or remaster,
No.
I guess. So Silent Hill 2 came out on, it's kind of best on PS2, funny enough, because when it got ported to Xbox, there was some issues with it. Xbox backwards compatibility on the Xbox 360 has even more issues that are introduced in. The PC build, it's very tricky to get it running. You have to apply a lot of fixes now. And even back in the day, I'd heard that it wasn't really the best on there. And then when it got, I guess, remastered, like the HD collection, when they got ported to HD, for the Xbox 360 and PS3, they weren't working on final code. They were working on unfinished beta code of it, essentially. So it's really buggy and it's kind of incomplete, because they had to essentially rework they had to fix bugs and then run into bugs that weren't run in before and document this and fix them. And it was still buggy and such, even in the end, because you're technically playing just a heavily modified beta build of the game.
Wow.
Yeah. Silent Hill 3, I think, was better, but Silent Hill 2 was rough.
Props to all the people that try and work on that.
Fonts got changed to Comic Sans. That's what happened.
Yikes.
I'm not kidding on that either.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're a big Silent Hill fan. Sorry, it sounds like it hurts.
I do love Silent Hill. Yeah. Yeah. I've played it a couple times on the 360. Like it's not like it's completely unplayable. It's just like, oh, this could be better, but it's convenient. So.
For sure.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, shoot. I think that's the end of our topics.
Yeah, that is the end of our topics. This went on a lot longer than I expected, but that's because we were talking so much at the beginning.
Yeah, we did.
Everything.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like this time, like a lot of times when we like meet up, we probably spend like almost 30 minutes just chatting before the show.
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't get into any of the topics or any of the material this time. Mm-hmm. This is like definitely our like first conversation about most of these topics.
Yes,
so,
it was.
But hopefully it was a good show.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
I'm hoping so. Hopefully you all enjoyed it, whether you're watching live or listening or watching after the fact. But Devin, what time is it now?
It's time for Q&A.
It's time for Q&A. So in case you do not know, if you are joining us live, what we like to do is we like to open the floor for Q&A. So if anybody is in the comment section of the live show, you all are welcome to ask us really whatever the hell you want, and we'll try and answer what we can. We normally do this for about 20 or 30 minutes. So if you're here live, please go ahead, feel free to ask. if you are listening to this or watching it after the fact, try and come out to a live show if you can. I try and announce them a few days ahead of time. We have been doing some of them here, like, not last month, but typically I'll try and do it like in the middle Wednesday of the month or so. This time we kind of did it near the end just because of scheduling conflicts and all that. But yeah, I'll try and announce it, on Twitter, Discord, not so much Facebook. I don't care for Facebook, but of course the YouTube channel as well. So yeah,
for sure. So there's one here. I guess it's directed to you. How did you get 10K subs? Which
10K. I guess I just kept uploading videos until it took several years, but eventually about 10,000 people hit subscribe. So
no magic?
Not really any magic, no. Just, I mean, at the base of it, just keep uploading.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no secret sauce. There's no guarantee to it or anything. I don't know why the channel is as big as it is. It's kind of anxiety-inducing at times. But
don't buy your subscribers.
No, because that can get you banned.
I listened to your last couple Mario minutes.
Yeah. I talked about that on there. Yeah.
It's not a good look.
No, it's not at all.
Keep pushing. Get people to get into your stuff for your content, not because of your numbers.
Yeah.
There's one that was a question that was asked by a friend of the show, Kyle, actually.
Sure.
Friend Kyle. He was asking about my new laptop. So I actually have an upgrade here.
Yeah, it's no longer as bright as the other one.
Yeah, it's actually it's a darker gray. I do like it. But yeah, work provided me with an upgrade. So that's nice. Appreciate that. It's cool. It's the MacBook Pro 2018 15-inch. It's got the touch bar. Touch bar's okay. Faster, I guess.
The touch bar is like where all the F keys are, right?
Yeah, so actually like
okay.
So actually this
I'm
isn't
seeing
even
that. Like okay, yeah, you're able to flip from F keys to not F keys.
Well, so yeah, that's what's funny. I'll show you. It's even like a little different. So normally it actually has app controls per the thing.
Gotcha.
So like here is like I can go to the web or the URL here in Chrome. There's a favorite button. There's a new tab button. So it actually tries to have like app controls depending on the app that you're in. So like I guess in Final Cut there's some like kind of scrubbing you can do or like trimming that you can do with the touch bar. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm a developer and I use the F keys a lot. So I just like I showed you before this, like literally there's an option in the keyboard setting to just put the F keys back on. And then
just as the defaults.
Right. And if I hold function, it just shows the normal keys that the old MacBooks had. So it's not the context aware stuff. It's just like brightness and play pause.
Yeah.
So I've reverted it back, but now I don't have tactile buttons for the F keys. I don't know. The performance is nice. You know what I mean? The battery life was a huge upgrade so far. It's been sipping battery pretty well. It's nice. Fingerprint scanner's cool, I guess. Would I pay the money for one of these myself right now? Probably not. It gets pretty expensive.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've heard that they're not... The fixability on them is pretty low rated.
I will say I've had the last MacBook I had for 4 years. I haven't had a single issue.
Sure.
Still runs great.
Okay.
The keyboards on these do have issues, but they've got like an extended warranty program where they'll fix the keyboard for free, I guess.
Okay.
If they have any issues.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, I'm kind of curious now. Let's see what about this would be cost-wise.
I'm just looking at you building this out here, ideally.
Yeah. I don't know. And I do wish they had 32 gigs of RAM. That's the one downside. But yeah, I mean, we're probably talking like over $3,000.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that is. Just a bit. Yeah.
But yeah, I've enjoyed it. Pretty cool. Not bad. The touchpad is huge. It's like the size of a Nexus 7 almost.
Yeah, I was surprised at that when you showed me that, like, pause, but yeah. I was shocked.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Just because this is in context. Exit, friend of the show, thoughts on sticker bombing laptops.
I love it.
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, you're not going to give me OCD with your sticker, like, laptop. In fact, I kind of envy people But like for me, just like technology has a certain place, right? Like I would never put a sticker on my phone.
Sure.
I like refuse to put a sticker on my laptop.
And it's weird because for me, like, laptops are like the only thing I wouldn't put stickers on my Switch. I wouldn't put them on my computer. I don't put them. I guess the only ones I put on my computer are like the Intel ones or something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put any on my phone. The only devices I've owned that I want to put stickers on are laptops. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. I like it though. I just like the look for some reason.
Yeah, I feel like I'd be like way too concerned about like what stickers like would go on it. In fact, when I got this, there was a sticker for like my company on it, and it just had like our logo on it, and I was just like very quickly like, get that off.
Nope, done.
I can take this off, right? Okay. But yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see any other things?
Yeah, go ahead, pick one.
Ooh, Monberg. Okay, directed at you, Mr. Mario. What do you do if you find rust in consoles, even if it's only the shielding? I have one which has lots of this black stuff, and I heard it's common.
Jeez. I am not the person to ask when it comes to rust removal on there. I'm not even sure of what the proper method would be on that or what would be recommended. I haven't run into any consoles that are horrible enough where I have to worry about it. If there's a little bit of rust, I don't mind keeping it on there. Might not be the best response to really give on this. Mm-hmm. I just haven't done any rust restorations on an actual console shielding itself. Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. Can't speak to that.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with your situation. Sorry to hear your consoles.
Yeah, I'm wondering what console that is.
Yeah. James9937 here. Isn't the RAM soldered on them still? Which I believe he's referring to this MacBook here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's
way too thin. Yeah.
It's a huge disappointment. It's way too thin. Honestly, like when they announced that these laptops were getting thinner a couple years ago, I was like, no, like we don't need them any. Like, yes, it's very thin. Mm-hmm. Like it's about as thin as an iPad Pro almost, or something like that. But it's I don't know. It's nice, but at this point, I guess maybe it's, and I'm not rolling in the dough, but I guess I have enough money when I go to buy a computer like a laptop, I would buy it with enough memory. And I don't think I'm going to hold on to them for so long that memory is going to become irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would, a desktop I want to upgrade. Like, I would possibly buy a Mac or an Apple laptop given the right situation. And if I really needed a laptop, but I would not buy an Apple desktop, even with a new Mac Pro. Which is a whole
I thought the trash can ones were silly.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Nobody wanted to use them. People like had to use them because they needed a certain workload in a workflow that was only available on Mac OS. Mm-hmm. Like I really didn't see that many people that actually really enjoyed them. I didn't see any actually. I'm sure they exist, but. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the new Mac Pros are actually.
I like the actual iMacs with the screens built in. Like I really liked those form factors. And
yeah,
when they went to the garbage can, I'm like, no, this is garbage.
No, the iMacs are still being made, all-in-ones, where it's just the screen.
Those are still getting made. Okay,
yeah, so they have an iMac and an iMac Pro that actually has like a Xeon processor.
Oh, okay. And the iMac Pro is that the trash can?
No. These are.
So what is the trash can?
The iMac. That's the Mac Pro. iMacs are all-in-one desktops that are
okay.
The Mac Pro used to be what like
my bad. See, this is how like I pay like half attention to Apple stuff because it's not really my forte.
The new Mac Pro looks like the old Mac Pro. So this is the old Mac Pro.
So I saw a lot of people teasing the cheese grater, and I was like, well, didn't a lot of people like how those looked? I wasn't sure. Yeah. I think maybe I have a special affinity to them because that's what the original like alpha Xbox 360 dev kits were.
Sure. I think what people like laughed about is like the old one kind of looked like a cheese grater, but the holes were really small. This one they like almost magnified.
Yeah, I can see that.
So yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it looks the best, the new Mac Pro, but it's at least they have a desktop form factor where you can upgrade RAM, and they're not going totally in that direction. Yeah. You'll be able to upgrade the GPU theoretically, though NVIDIA support on Mac OS is lacking. Hopefully that changes. And they're even, I guess, with the new version, they're like adding like legit third-party driver support for the first time ever.
That's cool.
So that's like
that is cool.
We'll see. Maybe tides are changing, but the Mac Pro is expensive. It's like $6,000 starting.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Thankfully, I didn't really get worked up about it. I kind of just like saw tweets and some articles about it all because like some people have gotten the impression because I'll like build my own PCs. I use like a Windows laptop. I don't use iPhones. I just stick with Android whenever I have to get a new phone. Some people think I hate Apple. I'm like, no, I don't hate Apple. It's just not really my preference. And because of that, I'm like, well, I'm not like in the tech sphere where I really have to pay attention to this constantly. Like I'm not, like a tech news reporter or anything else, mind you. So I kind of just get bits and pieces and I'm happy with that. But I'm not like actively seeking out what's going on here. But I remember I did see that. I was like, oh, well, that's disappointing. That's really expensive. I'm sure there's people that are going to buy it, but I'll just stick to my PCs that I'll build and have fun with those. And those work just fine for me.
It does frustrate me because I'm in this demographic where I've got my PC, right? Like I don't like your
want desktop.
Yeah, like I've got my desktop. I don't want an iMac. I would like, even though I don't game on my PC hardly ever, I would like it available. And that's not. You get an iMac Pro, you can get one with the GPU. But I've even heard of people issues where it's just like you get thermal throttling because it's just this all-in-one package. Like,
because it's all there. Everything is there.
And then then what do you have? Like, you have the Mac Mini.
I think my desktop is thicker than the iMacs.
Oh, dude, the iMacs are like razor thin these days too.
Oh, okay, so they're getting even smaller then. All right.
Oh, dude, yeah. So I'll show you the iMac Pro, which we're not showing this really on stream, but I'm sure most.
I just want to say,
look how razor thin it looks.
Yeah, that is really.
It's not even a full side profile, right? It gets a little thicker in the middle, but that is actually running like some pretty significant specs for what it is.
Yeah.
Actually.
I do want to say, Dan Tron had mentioned this, where he's saying Apple for me has become the pay for the logo brand. I can definitely see that. I do have an anecdotal story for that. I know of someone who I was recommending to their family member, like they were wanting to get a iPhone and they weren't sure about iPhone or Android. So I was kind of going over the positives and negatives with them. And in the end, she had said, thank you. I really appreciate all the time you went all this. I still want the Apple though. And then even like the friend I was talking to, she was like, wait, what, why? Like he just explained to you how Android's better. And this chick, she straight up said, I know, but Android doesn't have the little Apple on it.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. For some people, it is just straight up branding.
I mean, I think I know somebody who also clearly will go up and down. He said that to this day, if Microsoft made a phone, I will buy it. I do not care. I will buy everything I can. He is a Microsoft fanboy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're gonna find that in all camps. I think it just what suffers is when you get that loyalty and the popularity. I think that just comes with a lot of negative connotations. Mm-hmm. And then those brands can run with the price, and if they do, then you get a lot of negative connotations.
I had a friend who was like that, where he's still for the most part pretty much Microsoft everything, but he was one of like the last dozen, it seemed like, Windows Phone users in 2018, and he kind of just, now that it's really nothing is really supporting Windows Phone that well, and Windows Phone really went down the tubes and everything. He had to move to something else. It was either iOS or Android, and he chose Android. Yep. But he got kicked out of there. Yeah.
And what I was getting at though was like for people like me, like a desktop user, like I want to have the GPU available. Even if I was on Mac OS, like Mac OS has some games. They're getting more with their metal crap. Like maybe they're not. You don't have the selection, but like let's just theoretically say, right? Like I want a desktop similar to what I have. I don't have the option. Like you have the Mac Mini, that's not going to fly. You've got the iMac, which is not exactly what I'm looking for. Not really. It's a nice machine, but not what I'm looking for. And then you have the Mac Pro. It's like, okay, we're missing something here, right? Like my tower probably I have invested. I guess the current build is probably close to like $1,500 or something like that.
Cool.
Right? Actually, it's less now because it's older, right? But like money I've invested into it. I swapped a couple parts, but let's just say $1,500.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And let's even double that for the Apple tax. Mm-hmm. Which is a lot. Apple.
Let's round. Let's say 4,000.
Even 3,000 or 4,000. We're still not. We don't have a computer that fits that bill with Apple. Mm-hmm. So as long as Hackintoshing works, it's still the operating system for me right now because it fits the balance between developer support for what I do on a daily basis, for web development and stuff like that, and commercial application support. if Linux had more commercial application support and kind of smooth out some edges in a couple areas, which we won't get into right now, I would love to use Linux. But right now, macOS has like kind of gets right in the middle, right where it should be. So I don't know, but it is disheartening because it's like, man, I couldn't even buy a computer from you guys if I wanted to.
Yeah,
I'd be like sacrificing so much.
Yeah, and plus I don't know, I'm just not a fan of Mac OS X. Or Mac OS.
So iMac Pro, you see how thin the bezels get.
I'm seeing, yeah, it's razor thin, and it's got, what's the CPU? 8-core Intel Xeon, Radeon Pro Vega 56, 8 gigabytes of memory on the graphics card. I mean, it's hefty. That's in a very thin package. Yeah, I wouldn't trust that.
Yeah,
I would not trust that. Mm-mm.
All right, well, let's move on because I'm getting tired. So let's pick up a couple more here.
Cool. Yeah. How about this? I want to grab. Do you think consoles in general are getting to the point from factory and modders getting into them that we are basically killing new invention when it comes to consoles? I'm actually really confused on that. I was hoping reading out loud would
like maybe they don't want to invest in enough money to like advance them because they're going to lose money on modders, right? They're like, we can only invest this much money on advancing the console because if we expect the console to get hacked and we lose money from piracy sales, then we don't, like, they've budgeted that into like their R&D or something. Maybe that's what
maybe. And even if that's the case, I don't think so as much on that, just because consoles are getting much more secure now. And then even when it comes to that, these companies, they're having, security teams work on these systems and such and get them up to speed, make sure things might need to be patched where they are. Of course, the Switch, that was kind of year one. Big oof on Nintendo's part there. But when it comes to like the Xbox, I'm just thinking, like, when I'm thinking that, I'm thinking of the Xbox One, for example. We really haven't seen anything on that. And I'm not sure if I'm sure it's a lack of interest, but it's really also just the operating system on there is locked down pretty damn well. And the system is using BitLocker as well, too, from what I understand. So shit is pretty indestructible when it comes to that, at least. I think we're going to see mods on it later, but I don't think anytime soon. I don't know if that answers the question. That's kind of just like my thoughts coming out.
Kind of a follow-up to, I guess, something I was talking about with the Hackintosh stuff for Mac OS. New Age Soda says, you don't use VS Code, Linux, Mac, Windows. That's what I use to build my web apps. I do use VS Code a bit. It's pretty nice. I do find that like Mac OS with, even though it's not an official package manager, Homebrew, it's typically a better, smoother experience than Windows is for just in general development environments and getting things set up. I also think that it's a little bit easier to script things, especially for me coming from a Linux world with both the terminal on macOS kind of being Bash or something like that, and being able to script a lot of stuff. I could basically do my whole entire setup with one script that I download from GitHub, and 5 minutes later I have everything I need set up. Really nice. It's so much harder to do on Windows. Windows has Chocolatey, that's like a package manager that is okay, but I've had Chocolatey break so many more times than Homebrew, or just screw up installs or something. It just does not seem to be nearly as smooth of an experience. So, I don't know. It's not my preference for development for multiple reasons, and I'm just not the biggest Windows fan, if that answers your question. And then also, why has jailbreaking phones died down from Steve-Oss? Yeah. I think it's just similar thing we were talking about with console modding. Is it's just getting harder and harder, especially with one target. Like Apple can do nothing but plug holes. You know what I mean?
Well, I was gonna say those. From what I know, those exploits are also pretty nice payouts as well too.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah. Definitely. There are bounties out there. We've seen like people do that stuff with some of the Nintendo code where they actually like ended up submitting exploits and stuff like that to get paid. So it's a very tempting offer. You know what I mean? These people put in a lot of their hard work for no money or little donations a lot of the time.
Sure. There's people now who are doing, security research like that and bug bounties, and that's their full-time occupation. And they are just, they just work for themselves. They and that's how they make their money, just through bug bounties, reverse engineering, all that stuff.
Apple is not stupid, and I'm sure they have a lot of penetration testing people in the company, like hiring some of the best. They're worth a lot of money. They've got a lot of money. They can hire a lot of money. Really, really good white hat hackers for their internal needs.
Sure.
And I think also operating systems are getting good enough where like you don't need those tweaks as much. Mm-hmm. So I think there's just less incentive.
I know that's what a few people had said. James was saying the OS finally got good enough to not really need to, because I remember SB settings was fantastic, but so much of the stuff that we were adding into jailbroken iDevices has been added back in. I think Thought Signal, I believe they're kind of on the lead of what I'm thinking here as well too. They said, why jailbreak phones when you can easily make signed applications and patches? And I think that's kind of the method that's going with it as well too. If you want to mess around with apps that aren't available on the iOS store, essentially from what I recall, and maybe someone can correct me on this, but from what I recall, at least for those patches or those applications, you can just register yourself as an Apple developer somehow, and then you take these applications, you sign them to your phone, and you're able to use them. Granted, you're essentially saying, hey, I'm testing this emulator, or I'm testing this media player. And from what I understand, you have to re-sign them every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. But that does satisfy the urge a lot of people have.
And yeah, and that even, because, what is it? I had looked into this not that long ago, and like iOS 12 like was having issues or something. And even like they have these provisioning profiles, these enterprise provisioning profiles that they'll distribute, and then like Apple, like that's what is like, hey, I'm an enterprise person and I need like 300 people to test my thing, and so they let people download these profiles and Apple will flag them.
Oh, okay.
Like it's not just like a total grab all. Mm-hmm. There are other things where like there was like an injector tool that kind of like facilitated some of this stuff and like did a little bit of hackery. I did that for an application to spoof my GPS on Pokemon Go, which is pretty interesting. So I can't remember what the tool was called, but it would like, I'd plug it in and run this tool and it would like inject the thing. And I need to do it like once a week or whatever. But I think it was bypassing some of that, but it was also like exploiting something even on the Apple servers. Like it was like getting a new provisioning profile or something. It was wild. But last I checked, the emulators weren't available for iOS 12 or something. So yeah, it's really hit or miss. It's not quite the be-all, end-all solution. Maybe if there was source code available.
It's a way for people to get custom homebrew, I guess you could say homebrew, unauthorized apps onto their device.
Yeah.
Which is what most people who jailbreak their phones want to do.
Yeah. Cydia Impactor, James, thank you for putting that in there. You can sign for free with a regular account, but only for 7 days. So yeah, that's kind of a limitation. But Cydia Impactor is actually a desktop application made by the same people.
Okay.
And that's what I was thinking of. And even, yeah, I looked up the iemulators.com, and I don't think...
To be honest, and a lot of this I hear third party too, I have been really... I could say I've been out of iOS jailbreaking since maybe iOS 5, something like that, just because I haven't, like... I've had iPhones, but I don't have the desire, to modify them or anything, so...
Yeah. See, it doesn't look like a lot of this stuff is available for iOS 12 yet, so I don't even know how fast the development is going, because iOS 13 is on its way right now.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, I'm not sure. I started looking into it, and it just, from what I'm used to, like I don't want to fight this hard to put an emulator on my phone.
No, I understand. And if you're gonna fight that hard to get an emulator on your phone, you might want to go Android.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You want to try and grab a couple more here, and then we can sign off.
Sure. I'll let you go ahead and grab a couple.
Let's see.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling the tiredness.
Exit said, aren't we getting a new Windows package manager whenever we get the new terminal? I did not hear that. I could be wrong. Again, I don't keep up with Windows stuff as much.
People are hyped for the new terminal.
If Windows... Yes, the new terminal looks decent. It's going to be like... Windows Subsystem for Linux version 2 looks pretty decent. I think Windows could have a much better development platform. In fact, Windows WSL 2 solved some issues that I had with the original, which there's a lot of performance things, a lot of like features didn't work. So like I think there's potential there. Remember, we even talked about this where I went on Windows for a while and tried to do Windows development exclusively for like. I made a video about it even.
You did.
I did that like probably about a year ago now, and it didn't. My development is slower. I felt frustrated. I felt like I was not getting things done as quick. I don't know. It wasn't my thing. But Microsoft's been doing good stuff. I think they have potential. And, while I've not been the biggest fan of them in the past, honestly, the best thing I'm looking for is like the smoothest development flow for me. And Windows is great because it supports a lot of hardware.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to it if it turns out to be that way.
Cool. Real cool.
Mr. Mario, are you done with OG Xbox videos, or is that it for a while from XBMC mods for Xbox?
So I do have some videos that I've recorded and such. I still need to edit them and everything. They'll come out eventually. That's about what I can say on that.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Wait and see.
Yeah. I was gonna say as well too. Because you were talking about, video you made. Now, remember last... I wanted to ask you about this. Remember last episode, I'd kind of hinted and I said... Because you were saying you hadn't made any videos this year. And I was like, well, Devin, you made a video, actually.
Right.
Devin was featured in my 100,000 subscriber special video.
Yeah.
And I wanted to... Because I haven't talked to you about that. What were your thoughts on what I had to put you through to make your video for this?
I knew immediately when you asked me to react to a video of something, I knew it was going to be gross. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't know exactly what to expect. I didn't know what this was going to be like. And you even had like weird little hints in your tweets and stuff like that.
I did.
And so, yeah. I didn't see this coming though.
I just want to show this here because this is... And I said a reminder to myself, Devin, I don't know if you noticed, you changed colors during the video.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, no, during the video, look at how Devin looks right now.
I look pretty red. The lighting isn't great.
No, but that was just right, where is it? Here. You're not red.
Yeah.
You're like slightly red. Like a couple minutes in, I turned you into a lobster with this.
Yeah.
I thought that was incredible because you were the only person who ended up changing colors.
That's funny.
That was impressive to me.
That was just the sun setting.
Well, no,
that's funny.
You became not red near the end.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I'm sure I actually did, but I cracked up, and it's funny because of course. I was talking to my girlfriend because she was there, helped me get the camera set up so I was framed well.
Mm-hmm.
Props to Jasmine. It was awesome. But, it like she could hear me from the other room, obviously. Like she wasn't there watching with me, but she was just kind of like hearing me react to this whole thing. Yeah.
If people haven't seen that video, I'd recommend checking it out. That was I told people that was my magnum opus, and I was even joking like, yeah, once this video goes up, I'm done. Like I don't need to. Nothing else is going to surpass this. That was the biggest collaboration I'd done as well too. So I was very happy with the end result.
Definitely, I think you're well deserved. Congrats.
Well, thank you.
Belated, but
it's all good. It happens. Yeah.
Devin is Larry the Lobster, confirmed.
Pretty much.
I do love me some SpongeBob. All right, should we wrap it up there? I think the questions have slowed down, and I'm tired, dude.
I understand.
It's been a long day, long podcast.
I understand, yeah. I think that's about it for that. So, yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up. We're tired here. So, anyways, Devin, where can people find you online?
Twitter, Paranoid Coder. Follow my YouTube channel. I'm not been doing videos like we talked about, but it's there. Come chat with me if you want. Cool. That's pretty much it these days.
Right on. Yeah, and then of course, Mr. Mario 2011. You can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I have a Discord server as well too. In the video description of pretty much any video that I make, you can find it there, including on ModChat if you're checking it out on YouTube. If you want to listen to this and you're watching it right now, ModChat is available just under ModChat on most major podcasting platforms. Vice versa, if you're listening to this and you want the visual component, you can check this out on the channel, Mr. Mario 2011. After it's live, the video goes up afterwards. So we do need to pick a we need to pick, Devin, a word for people to use. If you have made it to the end of the video here in video form, if you've made it to the end, I have an idea for a word that we can use, a keyword that people can use in their comment to know that they've made it. So we know that they've made it.
You have an idea already?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, we didn't get to mention this, but the $999 stand, Apple stand. People were asking about that. Like, people mentioned a few times. So I guess your thoughts on that real quick? Because the word is going to be stand. If you use the word stand, I'll know you made it to the end.
So my thoughts. I mean, I think that was a very poor execution. I think what they should have said is it's a, what was it? I forgot how expensive the monitor was. Is it $4,000 or $5,000?
It was expensive. That's all I remember. It was
so
money.
I think they should have been like, let's say it's a $4,000 altogether. They should have said it's a $4,000 monitor and you can reduce the price $5,000 if you bring your own stand. Because a lot of these people that are working with these kind of stands, well, think about it. This is a 6K monitor with some of the highest specs on a monitor that we've ever seen come to market.
Sure.
In all reality, it's actually it's a nice ass
monitor.
It's a very nice monitor, and people don't need stands because a lot of times they have like wall mounts or Vega mounts and stuff like that. Then you can bring those if you want. You don't need the stand. But yeah, I think they should have said that it was like the whole price, and you can get it for cheaper, or maybe even announce that like later, right? Instead of been like, because it just looked very like Apple had it coming to them with the way they announced it. They're like, this much for the monitor and $1,000 more for the stand. You know,
it's like, oh no.
So, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's in the market for like anybody listening to this podcast, likely, unless you're like a major creative professional, which is what the Mac Pro is for as well. It's a freaking beast of a computer. But yeah, it's just not. It's not for me.
It's not for me either. But then again, I'm also not a iOS or Mac OS user, so.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a monitor. It'll work on anything.
Yeah, that is true. But I'm not trying to get monitors for thousands and thousands of dollars. Sure. So I'm outside of that.
Yeah. My monitors, I think the last ones I bought were like $120 or something like that.
Yeah, I think the most I've ever spent on a monitor was $200.
Yeah.
So
reasonable.
Cool. Reasonable. Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna get out of here. Remember, keyword stand. If you're watching this, you know, the video after it's all done, or if you're listening, come to the channel, check out the video, and use the word stand in your comment. We'll know you made it to near the end of this 2.5 hour podcast. My goodness.
It's a long one, but it's a good one.
It is, yeah. I'm tired. Sleepy chat now, as Executioner said.
Sleepy chat.
Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you all for watching and listening, everyone, and until next time.
Take it easy.